Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody from all around the world, hello and welcome to another episode of The Watchable with me, your host, Jean-Luc Welch. Let's make some noise, everybody. Clap it up, get excited wherever you are. We're back, we're here, we're live, and we're all excited to talk about the world of boxing and beyond with you on today's episode as we have news on Virgil Ortiz moving up in the world of boxing, literally going to middleweight, reportedly leaving 154. Also some news with Bam and INOUE, the mega fight that we potentially want to see in the 80,000 seat stadium over in Japan. That now has started the deadline of preparation as INOUE has spoke out publicly saying what the next steps are in the most recent interview, as well as what we have all been looking to talk about. TEO versus ROLLY, fight for the WBA championship at 147 pounds. Everybody's looking for this to be potential fireworks and a make or break opportunity for two incredible stars and athletes in the world of boxing, not just for a championship, but for the rights to get back into the big picture of big time fights and big time events. We want to see what's going to break down. We want to see exactly how this is going to unfold. We want to hear your final thoughts and predictions on everything involving what we have on this potential delicious fight on our table coming up this weekend. All of that and more we're going to be discussing with you all on this show today. We thank you so much for tuning in. We thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, go ahead and be a part of our channel. Join our community and subscribe to the show. That's right. Come on. Be a part of the hottest show in all of the globe right here on YouTube and on every podcasting platform imaginable. Rated 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, you name it. We're there, and if we're not there, tell us. We'll get there. Absolutely no question about it. Please be sure to hit like on the video. One like makes a world of difference to help us grow and flourish as a community, to reach the algorithm and reach the masses all across the globe. And if you'll be so kind, hit the notification bell so you know whenever we post right here on YouTube. And if you would, if you can, and you want to keep the lights on this show and help me to pay the bills, we have Cash App and PayPal. Links down below in the description. Super chat, super gift stickers, and like all for you to be able to join us and enjoy and be a part of what we got going on. We would hope, if you can support this channel, we would hope that you would, with anything you can afford. We appreciate it oh so much. In fact, we got a super chat goal up at the top of the screen. If you would be able to see us, you can understand, hey, support us. We got to add more to the show. We can add on to the fun and excitement. And please be sure, if you can't do anything else, if you don't do anything else, all we ask for you to do is watch, interact, enjoy with the show, and share the show with everybody that you know, so we can keep on building up this empire of a community together, all with you at the helm of opportunity, helping us to grow, shine, and letting us have and a wonderful opportunity to enjoy our day with you. But with all that being said, we have a lot of show to cover in a short amount of time to do so. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk boxing. It's time to talk sports. It's time to hear your voices and opinions. And it's time to step into the ring. Come on, let's get it started. Ring the bell. Round one of this show going underway, and in a hot topic of discussion that we have on our list, one of the biggest things is going to be not just the fight this weekend, but the biggest news of Virgil Ortiz potentially moving at the 160. Which topic shall we discuss first in the world of the show? Where we gonna go? Who knows? I dare say, let's delve into the more, before we get to the meat and potatoes of TEO and ROLLY, which we would like to discuss, we need to discuss the potential news, at least first and foremost, with the likes of Virgil Ortiz. A little bit of an appetizer before we get into the main course of competition with this show, and that is that Virgil Ortiz, the prominent contender at 154 pounds, is now looking to make a move up to a higher division at 160. Oh yes, oh yes. To the shock of many, with Boots being at the helm of potentially getting a fight with him. Again, if we see Boots win his titles, win his championship, get his opportunity to become a unified champion, beating potentially Fundor, beating what most likely will be next, Josh Kelly, All of that is in the cards for one of the most exciting fighters in the globe in John Boots Ennis. But with that being the case, Ortiz is looking at options as to whether or not he needs to stay or go in this division and keep up with appearances of walking through the world of boxing at 154 or go on into greener, bigger, potentially tougher pastures and look to get a title at 160 pounds. And I believe it was his trainer in Robert Garcia. I believe it's Robert Garcia that's been training him as they're on under currently the banner of Golden Boy Promotions. But again, that's a whole other conversation for another day. The main point of emphasis is it looks like Ortiz may be thinking about moving up. And if he is truly thinking about leaving this division to go up to 160 pounds, if he cannot get a fight for a belt at Boots or anybody else for that matter, it's going to be for a lot of people a very big letdown. Especially with all the drama that took place when we were discussing this fight happening in the first place. Did we forget that this fight was almost a done deal until Ortiz sued Oscar De La Hoya, and that turned into a whole cycle of, hey, you can't fight anymore for the rest of the year, and then that turned into, okay, we're back in the good graces. We saw Boots win a title. Next thing you know, not even a week later, Ortiz and them are back in cahoots, and I don't say that in a bad way, but they're back on the same ground to get out a deal laid for each other, to get an understanding. They negotiate their relationship. Now all of a sudden he's calling everybody under the sun. In the words of who I can confirm now, yes, is Robert Garcia. He paints out the road for what looks to be the next steps for one of the most dangerous fighters at 140 pounds. Now, we'll let that play right here for you all to witness and enjoy. Let me just switch over the picture. Well, actually, hold on. Before I switch over to picture, let me make sure that this is actually working properly, because Lord knows. Sometimes we play this. I don't want nothing to go bad. Let me make sure this thing is actually working. But while I'm checking it, let me go and read your chat's thoughts and opinions in the show. Like with the Boxing Advisor. How you doing? Good to see you. We thank you so much for tuning in and listening to our show on today, on this Thursday afternoon. Hopefully you're enjoying the show. Hopefully you want to subscribe to your channel, and hopefully you have already left a like on the stream. But let me see what you have to say. I don't think Oscar De La Hoya and Virgil Ortiz ever had any issues. That was just a front to get out of the Boots fight. Now see, that's why this was such a big deal. You have to understand the picture of unhealthy relations was painted in the framework of beef with Ortiz and Boots. That was significant because the fight that everybody wanted and the fight that they both called for inside the ring was directly in front of them with Boots versus Ortiz. When that took place, it was so weird that animosity arose. Now, granted, it wasn't uncommon. Why? Because everybody hates De La Hoya. Oh, well, at least that's the going sentiment. Let me read that. At least that's the going sentiment. That's the going sentiment. We got some problems here. Whether it's Malenko, whether it's Canelo, whether it was Virgil Ortiz, everybody doesn't like Oscar De La Hoya. It's almost like everybody hates Chris. Everybody got something bad to say. He's looting fighters left and right. That's one of the biggest reasons we saw one of the biggest stables in one of the more lucrative stables in boxing in the Golden Boy banner lose everybody that was big under the banner, at least just about, including Canelo, Ryan Garcia, who wants to go and leave his contract with Oscar De La Hoya after his last fight. He's losing people left, right, and center. So it wasn't uncommon. Seeing the beef, seeing the anger, seeing the I want more money, all those types of talks and discussions, that was nothing that was essentially that the boxing fans weren't used to. We've seen this coming from other people before. Same story, different day. However, the fact that they got to good graces so quickly after Boots won a championship at 154, has people asking drawing these types of conclusions. Well, if you were this good already, why in the world would you have been so made up of noise when this fight was getting ready to happen? When you could have just done this, gotten the fight, renegotiated the deal, and still had everything go through, and you still get the biggest payday that we would have seen Virgil Ortiz have, and an opportunity to solidify himself as the de facto best fighter at 154 pounds. It made all the sense in the world to me, as well as to a bunch of other people. So people are drawing conclusions. He just did this to get out the fight. Now, I don't like it. I'm not going to say that's true. I am going to say there's a reason for this type of discourse. It ain't helped that all of a sudden we're seeing after Boots wins. Now when Virgil Ortiz could potentially get another fight, and if he keeps on winning, not even get another fight to keep on winning, if he just stays active in this division, he would get to be the man at the end of the tunnel. What does that mean? If we saw Boots in this, let me make sure this is clip material. Hold on a second. This is clip material. Let me make sure I got this right. That's the content right here. If we see Virgil Ortiz stay at 154 and Boots goes and beats Josh Kelly and or Fundora and or both, potentially within the next year, because that's what it looks like he's trying to do within the next year, go after Undisputed as quickly as possible. If that is the case, one or both of those fights would lead to Virgil Ortiz being the last man in the ring to go and settle the score for all or the majority of the marbles, depending on which one comes first. Because he could either get a shot at Unified with 3 belts, or he could get a shot at Undisputed for 4, but he would be the guy that would be in position to get the biggest opportunity in his career in the fight that he wanted, with everything that he's ever wanted, all at his disposal, if he just stayed. Now, we complained that he wasn't getting the championship opportunities earlier in his career, and he should have already been a titleist. Sure. Some people say it was because of ducking. Others were saying it's because this brother was not moving in the same way we complain with Boots. We complain with Virgil Ortiz. Hey, brother, you've been the dog in this ring, the top dog in this ring at 154 pounds, yet you have still been the only man with your fight of the years with Boachuk, with you knocking out Erickson Lubin, with all of this stuff abounding of us hyping you up, deservedly so, as the man to beat in this division. How is it that you're the only one who doesn't have a championship at this point in time, yet you've always been saying you deserve one? You've always been saying, where's my shot? Where's my opportunity? Where in the world is the chance that I deserve? So it's had a lot of eyebrows raised more and more over the years. Now Robert Garcia talking about they're going to move up got me feeling a little bit more concerned, and has more people buying into this sentiment. Maybe they were just trying to avoid the fight, but I'll let you see exactly how you feel after you hear what the world Robert Garcia said in regards to that whole situation of him and Virgil moving up to 160 pounds after he transitioned over. It's a picture let you hear exactly what Robert Garcia had to say on the day. This is, for those of you just tuning in, this is Robert Garcia discussing the next steps of action, the next course of plans that we are going to see from Virgil Ortiz, and it looks like he's going to be moving up to 160 pounds. So I'll play the clip right now so you can see what the context of the conversation is, and then we'll step forward afterwards from there.
Yeah, look, I got a few calls yesterday. Even one of them was from my son. Did you really say that? I said, look. No, this is one thing that I'll say about Virgil's career. I think at 154, we're not gonna get a title shot anytime soon because Boots is already talking about his unification and that's more important to unify. Which I don't think so. The unifications are always there. If you want the biggest fight out there, if you want to give the fans the biggest fight, it's against Virgil. Yeah. And let's do it. That's what we want.
Do it when you're young and fresh and yes. Savage. Yeah, that's
what we want, and that's what we're asking for. But if he goes that direction of unification, then we have to wait. Then we could go after the WBC, which Mauricio himself told me, yes, Robert, I could make that fight. I could tell Fundora that is mandatory, but he already has a fight coming up, so we have to wait till April, May of next year to fight Fundora. But if Boots becomes a three belt champion, he's gonna want to go for undisputed. So that's gonna take away the mandatory for us. So we have to wait another year to get a title shot. So I said, look, if it's moving on, we'll move on. And if there's nothing at 154, we could do it at 160. Charlo, Tim Su, man, Puerto Rican that just fought Boots, Sandra Sayas. Those are all big fights. Those are all huge fights. And if it's Charlo, man, I would love it too, because he's a great fighter.
So that was my question. I was wondering what the weight was. So this would not be a 54. This would be at 160.
We would, we haven't made that decision yet. But yes, maybe.
But you're willing, regardless.
Yes, we're willing. It doesn't matter if it's 54 or 60. We're willing to do it, because we're not going to wait for that title shot at 154 if Boots is choosing to unify instead of giving the world the biggest fight out there. And then, like I said, if he unifies and wins, then he's going to want to go for undisputed. So that leaves us waiting for another year. So we got to move on.
So here's the thing about this. These are the words of Robert Garcia. But these are facts that have truth, but also it is multiple truth. Now, here's what I mean. When I say this is multiple truth, everything Robert Garcia said is right. If Boots goes and wins unified, he's going to want to go for undisputed. That is no debate and no discussion. I completely agree. If he goes after 1, he's going to go 1-2. If you want to 1-2, he's going to 1-3. It's like if you give him out a cookie, next thing you know, he's going to ask for some milk. Next thing you know, he's going to ask for a blanket. Next thing you know, he's going to ask for some more food. Then after you know that thing's fat as a hog, you got to get another cat to try to eat that mouse and get that freeloader out of your house. But again, that's just my interpretation of the story. All I'm trying to say is, once the taste of success takes place, you're going to want some more. The issue with that is, you could be a part of that same rat race, and if you don't believe that you're going to get a fair shake and an opportunity to go and get a championship from Boots, then you force your hand and you say, yeah, Sulaiman, he can activate me and get me a fight at 140 WBC. Okay, cool. Tell him to do it. If you got to go ahead from him, take advantage of it. Put yourself in that position. If you have that in your back pocket as a way to get you in the ring for what you want, then use it. But if you're saying you're going to have to wait, understand you're going to have to wait regardless. If you move up to 160, you're going to have to wait to get a fight. For any fight that you're going to take, you're probably going to have to wait to get a fight going. And if anything, you didn't have to wait. If this whole debacle with De La Hoya did not take place, you wouldn't have had to wait at all. Even after you went through and agreed, you still could have kept on just saying, hey, brother, this is the biggest fight. We can make it happen. More important, so you self-admitted you have an opportunity to get yourself placed for a championship that you want, even if it's going to be in late April of next year. You'll still have a chance. If you go to 160, it's probably going to be longer. It's probably going to be 2 years until you get to fight with Boots Innocent. Then you're fighting Charlo. Then you're fighting Tim Su. Sure, those are cool fights in name, but in theory, they sound fun. But if we're going to go off of the performances of Charlo at 160, 2 years ago, and Tim Su against Errol Spence, with no disrespect, those are not competitive fights at all. And in fact, we even said those, even at 160, we're still trying to gauge how in the world Tim Su would be against an actual dog at 160 pounds, because 1, there's not a whole lot of fodder, and 2, he beat Errol Spence Jr. in respective of the worst version of Errol Spence Jr., who was clearly shot to kingdom come. There's no need to even see that fight take place from a standpoint of productivity and actual ability. Again, in hindsight, we're simply saying you're going to have to wait regardless. So why not wait for the fight by putting yourself in a position to get the fight that you want? More importantly, why don't you just go through and stay active? Why don't you just go through and stay active? Hey, you know what would help you elevate into, hey, you can get a shot at a title if you went at 154, kept active, and beat Zayas worse than Boots beat him. Because that's still a big fight. If you went through and kept on dominating this division, you would still put yourself in a position to get a title shot. You're going to have to wait regardless. Why wait away from where the action is? And this is still an action-packed division. You can still get a bunch of stuff happening. It's possible. Really, it is. You can even advocate for your way to get to the fight with Sebastian Fundora. If you really push the envelope. I'm not saying it's going to be happening. I'm saying you can make efforts. Because right now, this sounds like, oh, we never got a fair shake. That's just not true. That's just not true at all. You could have gotten this fight when it happened, but you let it go. So now it has me really concerned. It has me really concerned that the longer this story of saga of Boots Ortiz, when will it happen, plays out, the less likely we're actually going to see it happen. Because it seems like at every significant turn, something's taking place from the side of Ortiz. And at some point in time, even we were even saying this about Benavidez. It ain't just because people are ducking you that you can't get fights. At some point in time, you got to make sure you make a move. Now Benavidez made moves. He actively kept putting in work. Is Ortiz about to fall into that same threshold? I'm gonna keep on putting in work, or he's gonna fall by the wayside and just say, there's no need. I'm just a little bit concerned. Just a little bit concerned, but let me keep on reading your thoughts. Like with Mr. Miyagi, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for showing up and showing out on our live stream today. We appreciate you joining us on our show. Salute to you. And we appreciate you being on our stream. Virgil really moving, super funny. Yes, a lot of people are having that. And this is with me saying, I've never been against somebody moving up in a division because a bigger division can be a bigger challenge. But the issue is we're dealing with a fighter who there is, even with what Robert Garcia said, that is not a good enough reason from the fans' perspective to hold you back from wanting to keep on fighting at 154 pounds. You haven't lost any steam. You haven't lost any level of momentum in your skill set and ability of either getting better or staying the same. You are still in the prime position as one of the biggest names in this division. You can still get yourself some fights, and if anything, you can just stay active so that you can get the championship that you desire, because you're still in the top ranks of multiple weight sanctioning, multiple belt commissions and sanctioning bodies. You have, self-admitted by Robert Garcia, a leveraged pull in Suleiman to get yourself positioned for the WBC championship next year. Potentially, if you put on some great performances, we've seen how these commissions be moving, you could elevate yourself up into getting a fight this year, potentially for a title, if you really push the envelope. There is no need for us to hold you in a bad esteem when we know you can still make some stuff shake, even in spite of the setbacks of this whole negotiation issue with De La Hoya. That's why I was saying I hate that this happened, because the fact that this happened ruined what was supposed to be a easy making money fight. It was simple. It was there. It was in its prime, and it was time. Yeah, Chris Algieri saying to Robert Garcia, hey, you need to make it while you're still fresh and hungry and spry and at your best. He's going to be at his best a year from now still. Ortiz isn't going to bottom out almost assuredly as a fighter, as a skillful opponent, as a dangerous person. It ain't going to be all of a sudden. I'm just very confused at the movements currently slated for a fighter that, with everything that we've seen, there should be no lack of opportunity to keep on making stuff shake for you and force the door open that you say keeps on getting closed in your face. That's my only concern. It's my only regret in watching this whole saga, because it feels like Ortiz is, just like you say, moving funny, moving reckless, moving weird, moving very odd. That's all I'm saying. Let me see. It's fine moving up, but there's so many fights to have at 154. That right there is the struggle and issue. There is no lack of activity that can be had even without a belt at your disposal. There is no lack of being able to weed out the other oppositions that are against you at 154. Do you want to lose your opportunity to or your placement in the division? No, nobody does. But guess what? Would have worked out differently if you'd actually gotten the fight in the first place. But since we're here, we might as well do what we need to do. Shake up the division and keep on making the ripples of your weight in this division felt throughout the masses. That's all you got. That's all you need. That's all you can afford. Yeah, and again, this is not me disparaging fighting at 160 pounds. We are never going to lament somebody moving up in a division. Because it's still, even if it's a significantly less level of talented pool from 154 to 160, it is indeed still a dangerous stake to try to go and level up to, especially if you're trying to go after the big kahunas like Arizona Lara, who is still at 42, 43 years old, turning into a knockout artist while still being slick and defensive and having everybody that he goes against get put to sleep in his last 6 fights. Ridiculous. Again, from the standpoint of he's old, but he's still doing his thing. Wow, mad impressive. Props to him, no doubt. That does not change what we're looking at. We're looking at a fighter who has the makeup that you could fight in all these other fights and not lose your position. If anything, the very opportunities that you would be denied because you're saying you're just not going to get it from Boots, it sounds like you're just hunting the Boots fight. When in all reality, after Fundora has his fight, if he does win, he defends his belt, you could also go and try to go and weed out the competition to fight Fundora. You could make a play to try to fight Josh Kelly. You could make a petition. You could call them out. You could put on some performances this year. Stay active. Get a KO. Be the top 10 in this division in November, December. Stay on the minds of boxing fans. Have a performance that shocks the world or that shuts up the world to say, hey, brother, I'm still that guy at 154 pounds. And then, boom, you can call everybody. I want Fundora. I want Kelly. I want Boots. It's not about just the Boots fight. I want anybody now. I'm not going to be denied my shot. Make some noise in the division. Last time we saw you fight was Erickson Lubin. And Erickson Lubin, that fight was, if I got my dates correct, I'll look it up right now just to be sure. That was the last time we saw Ortiz in the ring. That was the last time. And that fight, to date, was November 8th of last year. November 8th of last year. Now, we are in August, September, October, November. We are 3 months away from him being a year out the ring. Now, granted, we've seen fighters not fight in a year. That's not what I'm holding against. I'm saying he could have fought twice. He could have been fighting. Directly after they agreed, it should have been Oscar De La Hoya was trying to get him in something going down. To try to keep with the movement of everybody else in this division. Because like we said before, everybody else at 154 of the big time players was elevating up while you were in a regressive state and standing in the boxing populace at 154 pounds. That's what it was looking like. That's what it was looking like. That's what it is right now. With all due respect to Virgil Ortiz, Xander Zayas has a higher stock than you. All because of the fight that he had with Boots and the heart that he showed. He got beat, and we don't hold it against him. He got beat by Boots, but guess what? He went and took on a challenge early, and his stock, we want to follow where this guy's going. He hurt Boots for 30 seconds, and he legitimately made for an exciting fight. I want to see where this guy's going to go. Boom. Sebastian Fundora is still being seen as a towering inferno, a force that nobody can overcome. And everybody is still scared, worried, and all around just in all of this but a 6'5", 83-inch reach that can knock you out and now got a jab. How do you beat somebody that's essentially a praying mantis? I don't know. But his stock is high. And Boots, of course, is the highest of everybody. Ortiz is the only one that's been dropping. Yet he still got cards to play. Play the cards and play the game. Because you're losing out. You're losing out, man. You're losing out. Let me see. At this point, Virgil Ortiz needs to earn a title shot with Boots. And the only way he can earn that is by winning a belt at 154. That's the thing. That's the thing. Now, let's look at it from this other perspective. Let's look at it from this other framework of point of view. With this being said about Ortiz, he needs to win a title at 160 to get a shot at a title with Boots. We'll play devil's advocate. From Ortiz's perspective, it may not be that Boots is looking for the other titles as the only discrediting factor for why he's saying we might need to move up. It could also be that the other title holders are looking to fight Boots as their main recourse of action. They're not looking to fight anybody else either because of the cash cow that is Jerron Boots and it's at this point in time. Maybe. I'm not saying that's confirmed. I'm saying from the speculative standpoint, looking at the world around the boxing landscape all over the globe, this is what it may be from Ortiz's view. People don't want to fight me because they want to cash out on Boots. Because now, even if they lose, they're going to make a major payday with Boots in this. So he's worth the risk. Like we said a couple of months ago. Hey, I'm telling you, all this is connected. I told y'all this is a connecting line of story in the world of boxing. It's a constant pen being written around on the scroll of boxing history. And stuff does continue to reoccur. This is not a fluke. This is the reality of the sport. Situations come back around every single time, and right now we're in that same situation. We're in that same situation. But now just with Ortiz. Ortiz is now he's on the other side of what he used to do. It used to be he was ducked. Nobody wanted to fight him. Now it's he wants to fight. Nobody wants to fight him. All of this it's terrible. It's frustrating. But this is why you got to keep on persevering and moving. The fights that you want now are not able to happen without some consistency of action. You've been, with all due respect, with you being the best. Wait a second. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a second. Hold on a minute. Are we good? Well, we froze for a second there. Wait a minute. Are we still good? Are we still fine? I hope we're still good. I'm not trying to lose y'all. I am not trying to lose you all, please. I think we should be okay. We froze for a second, but I think we're back. What was I saying? Ortiz. Virgil Ortiz. Virgil Ortiz fighting. Virgil Ortiz fighting consistently in order to get a title shot. That's where I was. Ortiz now has to fight for the right of what previously he just had to be a name dropped for that he deserved. Because his deserving nature isn't off his reputation anymore. Now it's got to be about the noise that you make. You got to earn it back. Should you have lost it? That's a whole other discussion. What I do know is you got to earn it back. And at this stage, and I would not run from this work. I wouldn't. And sure, if you go to 160, there's a high likelihood you'll go and become champion. Janet Beck's at 168. Arizona Lara is the biggest, most touted name. Deservedly so, it's the best in the division. But there's not a whole bunch of big-time uber dangerous. No, I'm not. Well, let me not say uber dangerous, because everybody is still dangerous at 160. But in terms of the caliber of known excellence, the drop off in recognizable talent, 1 to 10, it's not significantly as deep as what we see with Boots and 154 as a whole. He'll probably win a title. He'll probably become a champion. He'll probably be the man that in that division people want to go and try to fight, because, oh, he's the biggest known name outside of maybe Tim Sue in this division that's now up here. Makes sense. Boom. But I think I just don't think this is going to be a smart move. I just do not think it's going to be a smart move. And he's better off just going and fighting at 154 and making noise, not just saying, I don't know what my options can be. Make your own options. Make your own options. Make your own. Make a fight now with somebody that can move the needle. Even if it's not a championship opportunity, it's forcing your way into the door. Because, okay, I'm just taking out the competition. I'm taking out people that were ranked in other divisions or ranked in other bodies. I'm taking out the caliber of talent that would be in front of me, all because of what happened with this whole De La Hoya situation. And now you have to put me here. I am the biggest fighter. Fans are calling for it more often. They're even more pressed because they just saw what I was able to do against somebody else that was a good fighting contender. Boom. Doesn't want to see that. I just think he's making a mistake moving like this. But hey, that's just me. That's just me. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if I'm not, this can get bad. If I'm not, this can get bad. I'm telling you. This can get really bad really quick. But let me keep on going through and going up on the next topics. Oh, wait, no. One more thing. I almost forgot. The last thing about Virgil Ortiz. I almost forgot. I want to make sure I say this before I leave into the next topic of the show. The problem with moving up to 154, or moving up from 154 to 160, this is the last thing before we go to switch gears. If he moves up to 160 and he loses at 160, with the lack of notoriety that that division would hold, it would all but assure that the very opportunities that he's looking for, he will not get as a championship caliber contender. Because y'all have told me on this very stream, even in the places that Ortiz is from, his own hometown, the star power that he brings is not nearly as much as he thinks. Is not nearly as much as I thought he would bring to the table. It ain't, per your own words, telling me in chat over the last couple months. Ortiz as a name, the biggest attachment had been because of Boots Ennis. It did not mean he didn't have his own reputation, but it also didn't mean it did not go and balloon to the outer reaches of boxing up until Boots became, oh shoot, we can get that fight. Okay. Outside of that, sure, it was no Ortiz versus Fundora, but it was a very short list of of eclectic energy surrounding Virgil Ortiz in matchups around the globe. Even Madrimov versus Ortiz, even though this was after Crawford beat Madrimov, that fight, which was should have been very exciting, wasn't even on the main event. It was an undercard fight. And even then, the amount of people that were in the stands when that fight was showing up, not much. The amount of people that were really harping on that fight as a fight to pay attention to, it was some buzz. It wasn't nearly as much for somebody who was seen as the best in that division. To some degree, Boots, not even to some degree, let me rephrase that. To a significant degree, Boots was and is that launching pad for Ortiz to get the global level of recognition and respect that you all have told me his name does not garner. Again, this is you all's words. And looking at the landscape, I agree. The respect of his talent is still there. The ability of him is still there and will never be questioned. The fight that we want to see because of the threat level between Boots and Ortiz is still the threat level between Boots and Ortiz that should be garnered. But the star power is still heavily weighed differently in an uneven scale with Ortiz, Boots, and the other stars around the boxing glove. Boots, from a notoriety perspective, doesn't need Ortiz. But Ortiz needs somebody like Boots to break that ceiling that he's been saying, I've been under for oh so long. Moving up to 160, I don't know if that helps his chances at breaking that ceiling that he's been complaining about, at least in the immediate. If it does, great. But if it doesn't, it can be bad. And again, if he loses up there at 160 with less notable names in the public eye of boxing, they're going to really hit hard against Ortiz's ability and look at him in a completely different light of this cat. Maybe we just overhyped him in the first place. Because who in the world is ho-hum up here? You moved up, and most people don't know who's at 160 right now because most of the biggest recognizable folks left or popped and had to leave. It's a slippery slope, and there's a chance that if this doesn't work out, you put yourself further behind the eight ball. Just food for thought. There, you need to be mindful. This could get dangerous in a multiplicity of ways. But even still, we got more stuff to talk about on this show that we want to make sure that we cover as we continue to talk about the world of boxing and beyond. As we have, again, with the likes of Fight Week, this week, TEO and ROLLY are indeed squaring off against each other, and we're looking for your last predictions. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is the time to shine and have your final thoughts on the fight as a whole taking place in the next, day or two. We're going to have ourselves a potential new or still reigning world champion and getting in the fights with the other big kahunas at 147 pounds. Yes, indeed. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And it's time for you to see. Well, I want to see what you have to say as we have to start a poll. We got to start a poll. Wait a minute. We got to start a poll right now to let you to see exactly how you all feel on this fight. In your last opportunity to tell the globe who you think is going to win on this weekend's card and who comes out I'm trying to make sure I'm spelling right. Who wins this? God, hold on. Who wins this weekend? There we go. Starting the poll. I want to see what you all have to say. And let's see. Love King, you say I got ROLLY by KO in the 6th round. Well, Love King, how you doing? We appreciate you. Welcome back onto the show. Hopefully you're enjoying our live stream. Hopefully you're leaving a like on the stream. If you haven't already, please leave a like on the stream. One like makes a world of difference to help us grow, flourish, and shine as a community, and helps us to go and reach the matches all across the globe. And please be sure, if you can't support the channel, like I said before, shameless plugs. We got Cash App, PayPal. You see the stuff on the screen. It's in the description. Super chat and super gifts, all that stuff. We even got a super chat goal. We trying out new things, seeing how it's going to work, and if it doesn't work at all. But hey, if you can't support the channel, means support us, helps me to pay some bills, helps us to make this show better, helps you to further invest into the entertainment that hopefully you love to watch and you love to listen to. But let's hear what you all have to say. We got people saying that TEO's going to get knocked out in the 6th, like with Love King, like with Dub Ringside. Also, how you doing? Good to see you. We thank you for tuning into our show today. And you said, well, we would love to hear your thoughts. And let me see. Salute, Jean-Luc and Che. Yep, salute to you and everybody else. Right now, we're talking about TEO versus Ortiz and the final thoughts and predictions for the fight. Again, I gave my stuff, I believe, on Tuesday. I strongly, not even strongly, I'm banking on Teofimo Lopez beating Rolly Romero. Yes, I do. Yes, I am. I am banking on the essentially Gordo to show up one more time and do what he needs to do against one of the surprising stories in the boxing landscape, in Rolly Romero being on a slew of crazy enough, actually impressive victories. Oh, the biggest of which being over Ryan Garcia, now potentially solidifying his position of a new revamped fighter if he can beat Teofimo Lopez. And be very clear about this: no matter how much you may feel one way or another Teo will win and or lose, this would be a massive upset in the majority of boxing fans' eyes if we saw Rolly Romero get this win over Teofimo Lopez. This would be huge. Insanely huge. You all don't understand the magnitude of exactly why this would be such a drastic spectacle. We were seeing Teo at his best beat Lomachenko. We would never dream of Rolly Romero being able to have that type of skill set, at least at that point in time, to beat the likes of the best in the world in the Matrix during that early stage of the, what was it, 2018, 2020? Something around those lines. We never imagined. We would have never imagined Rolly Romero being in the midst of somebody who had also beaten Josh Taylor, who was also pound for pound. With them losing to Tank, with them losing to Isaac Cruz, with them should have had a loss from Barrosos when he first won the championship, interim title at that point in time, but should have lost that, and Barroso should have been champion. But Tony Weeks stopped the fight, even though it was Rolly that was getting beat the Kingdom Come pillar the post every which way, still came out on top. Back to a string of questionable performances and victories. Never would have imagined that this fight would have been not just a fight to happen, but a competitive fight to take place. But this is the crazy thing about boxing. The careers can devolve and evolve into places that we never expected to happen. And right now, that's where we at. And if Rolly beats Teofimo Lopez, it would be one of the most shocking things we would have had this year. Not shocking because, we don't recognize that Rolly is good. Rolly has gotten better. And I can say firmly, he is a good fighter. He is. No matter how borderline elite you can call him beating Ryan Garcia, to me, turned him into, okay, I got to recognize him. He's got something of elite talent, and I got to give respect to him. No matter how much or little that is, I'll leave it up to you. But this would be the biggest win of his career. Or at least the second biggest win of his career. This would be the second biggest win of his career, with the third biggest name he's ever fought. Tank, Ryan, Teo. He's fought Tank, Ryan, and Teo. And of those names, if he beats Teo, he would have won 2 out of those 3. Changed the whole narrative of his opinion as a fighter for the majority of the boxing globe, even those who still have doubts to this day. But I think Teo's going to get it done. I do. And specifically, I'm still harping on this, it's going to come down to his father. And it's more off of the backs of our conversation that we had on Tuesday. But it's also something we saw from an interview with Teo's dad recently, as this week, involving his mindset going into this fight. But let me see what you all had to say in the comments down below to see how you feel. If Teo was mentally right, then I pick Teo. I just worry about him and his father's issues. And that's a great point. And let's actually go through and play the clips of his father, of his dad, speaking about exactly why he's been in such turmoil over the course of the last couple years, and in terms of as a game plan, more so as a beyond the game plan. Let me not say game plan. As the relationship between these two have been very much at odds, questionable, concerning in many respects, for me and many others included. It seems like his father now is, hopefully, prayerfully, looking like he's in a better headspace. And honestly, I don't know why the clip isn't playing, but I'll say what was said in the interview of what we saw with T.O.'s father. T.O. was sent he's saying, hey, brother, I was on that white stuff. I was in a very bad state in life during that fight in January. I wasn't where I needed to be. And that's the first time I ever heard accountability from that man. I'll be completely honest. At least we can say that has come out of this whole situation. That he has at least admitted, hey, even though in that interview that we played last week of him in that sit down, and he was saying you weren't listening to what I had to say, this is the only instance of actual accountability of why we saw what we saw him doing January against Shakur. We finally got ourselves an answer. I'm gonna play it right now so you can see exactly what I mean by T.O. Sr. admitting he had a problem. And if we're gonna see that problem arise again the next time out on this fight with Rolly Romero.
January, you weren't in a good place. Why weren't you in a good place in January?
I wasn't in a good place, man. I was fucking doing drugs. I was doing a lot of shit, man. And, you know what I'm saying? I let the devil blind me, and I didn't protect my son, and I blame myself for that. And that's never gonna happen again, because I'm here to stay. Hate me or love me, bro, I'm here to stay.
Absolutely. Last question.
I'm gonna give a hell of a performance come on Saturday with my son.
And so, again, this is the first level of genuine accountability I've ever seen from T.O. Sr. This isn't as a father, this is as a trainer. I'm not saying nothing about him as a dad. Nothing about him as a dad. Strictly as a trainer. What we saw and what we played on Tuesday versus this, night and day. Now, that aspect of accountability saying that your son was to blame to his face, that's still wrong. And you, in terms of T.O. Sr., were wrong and still are wrong if you think it's because he just didn't listen. But in this respect, at least now we know why you could not do what you needed to do to give sound corner advice. Maybe it was a one-off situation. Maybe it was a situation where you let your inner struggles, which we've seen again with other fighters before. This is not judgment. Be clear, this is not judgment. But we've seen in the past with other people, as life is life, stuff happens, and you get lost in the shuffle of your own, not just expectation, but of your own inability to control what needs to be controlled. Stop what needs to stop. Handle yourself accordingly. Seen it happen. If he and Shakur, if T.O. Sr. and T.O. Jr. are operating in the same wavelength, maybe we aren't going to see what we saw earlier in January. If we see that, maybe we're not going to see the concerns of a corner without advice and a father without guidance, and specifically a training budding problem that we thought was blooming to elevate T.O. to still be a champion. That does not mean that the concern isn't there. But at least we should see, if we're going to take T.O. Sr.'s word seriously, we should see at least a same wavelength of fighter to be able to bring out the best in Teofimo Lopez. Because here's the unique fact about T.O. that we have to recognize. For everything that I've said against T.O. Sr., and I've said a lot about T.O. Sr., y'all know I have not minced words about how I feel about him as a trainer. As a dad, I'm not touching. As a trainer, absolutely. In that confines, I've had a big issue with him. But the one thing, I think it was even Max Kellerman that brought this up about him. It was either Max Kellerman or somebody that brought this up about T.O. Sr. I think even Rolly brought it up in his interviews, in the pre-fight interviews with other reporters involving T.O. Sr. T.O. cannot work the same way without his father there. That seems to be the sentiment surrounding the boxing globe. T.O. can't be T.O. without his dad being in place, in the vicinity, somewhere in the area, and involved in the preparation, discussion, and overall accord of fight plan. He can't be what he needs to be without him in the midst. It's the bonding of a father and son. He's the through lane. He is the beacon. He is the home base of sorts for T.O. to get himself where he needs to be. Without him, I'm not where I need to be. I'm not who I want to be. I'm not in the same confidence level as I should be without him there. Fine. Cool. That doesn't mean what I said about me thinking he should leave T.O. About me thinking T.O.'s dad should leave T.O. Does not change what I've said about that. But it does change the makeup of why he should be there. And it does change the severity of the necessity for this thing to work. We gotta see this fight go right for T.O. If we want to see, or if anybody wants to hope that this bond is going to stay true. Because I'm telling you right now, there is going to be a real world conversation that we have to have, and that T.O. is going to have if he loses to Rolly Romero for the second time in a row, and his father is the biggest reason as to why. It's going to be uncomfortable. And if that decision does take place, T.O. may absolutely make that decision. I need to get you out of here. And if that does happen, that could affect T.O. negatively. Simply by the fact that with self-improvement, your dad isn't there. And even with the improved corner, the improved coach, the improved persona that is going to be helping you, you don't have what you need as your home base of security in your father, backing you up. So you'll never be the same guy. It's a tight rope of balancing act that you got to follow when it comes to T.O.'s dad and when it comes to T.O. When it comes to anybody that has this type of dynamic, even if it may seem self-imploding at many times from the outside looking in. It is a world and whirlwind of chaos. It is a hodgepodge of mess and confusion, but it works. It's like when you have a room that's dirty, everything looks dusty, filthy, absolutely disgusting. I'm talking about roaches on the walls, rats on the floor, flies in the air, and you can barely breathe because there ain't nothing but smoke and soot all around you. Clothes everywhere, trash everywhere. You can't find nothing for nothing. Everything looks strewn out and completely in disarray. You wouldn't want to touch the dirtiness of said room. But the person that lives there is completely fine. Why? Because even though it's a mess, it's his mess. And even though it does not look like it makes sense, they know where everything's at because their system works for them. Their system works for what they're in. Now, it could be better. They could make efforts to be better. But the comfortability is the biggest thing that makes it so I don't want to change. And if I don't want to change, that means everything that is a mess right now got to stay the mess that it is. Cleaning myself up may hurt my opportunity to be comfortable. Because all of a sudden, a lot of the stuff that was a problem that I was comfortable in my mess is no longer needed and is no longer in my room, but I'm not used to everything being clean. I'm not used to this separation from the mess that I was involved in. Not used to the ability to see the world around me. I'm not used to not having this level of drama in my life. And I'm not saying drama in terms of T.O.'s dad is just outright drama. I'm using this as an example, a euphemism of sorts, to show you what the negative impacts of if T.O. did leave his dad, what it could do. Everything's sorted out. Everything's different. Everything looks cleaner. But the man is not the same because they're so used to what was, even if it seemed from the outside looking in, as a detrimental relationship in coaching. Not talking about in person, in coaching. That now without that voice there leading him, he can't even follow the better instructions because who's giving it isn't who he wants to hear from. Toxic relationship in some places is what it's called. But all abounding for T.O., that is what the makeup is. At least from the outside looking in. I am afraid that this can still self-implode. But if it doesn't, This can be great. And if they're on the same wavelength, they can win. They can be able to succeed. But if he loses, the tough decision is going to have to be done, and he's going to have to either be able to keep his dad around and move him to a new role, supporter, motivator, but you ain't telling me what to do, or cut him entirely. And in spite of the uncomfortability of a clean, freshly cleaned room, freshly cleaned boxing space, freshly cleaned ethos around you, you understand this is what's better for you. And you learn, not even more to learn to love it. You accept this is the best, and then it becomes your norm in a good way. And all of a sudden, you're looking up, the sky is bluer, the grass is greener, the air is cleaner. All of a sudden, you're saying, man, I should have done this a long time ago. There can be two sides of the coin that we can see take place if this does go down. There's a lot of staples. Let me see. Ryan Grace, how you doing? Good to see you. We thank you so much for tuning in and listening to our show on today. Without a doubt, hopefully you're enjoying the show. Hopefully you're having a lot of fun, and hopefully you're enjoying the conversation. Please keep on liking the stream, keep on sharing the show, and keep on subscribing to the channel. That's right. Come on and join our show. Be a part of the hottest show on the globe. And if you can support the channel, we got Cash App and PayPal. And hey, links in the description, super chats and super gifts. We got a super chat goal, I think of like 10 or something. Any amount we'll do. We're trying to see if this thing's going to work. Incentivize the masses, as they say. But let's see what you have to say on today. What's up, Welch? Going for TEO, even though ROLLY has the power advantage in this fight, still think TEO is the better puncher. Now, I assume you mean puncher in the standpoint of offensive variety. Better jab, sneaky uppercuts, hooks from different types of angles, voluminous puncher that can really go and throw. We've seen him throw almost 1,000 punches in a fight against, I think it was Steve Claggett. He didn't hurt him, but the brothers kept on hitting him. All of that bleeds into a success rate that should be in line for TEO. It's just the question of if TEO does land on ROLLY, what does that change the entirety of the fight? People still hold the Kambosos fight against TEO. Hey, if he can do it, sure enough, ROLLY can do it. But forget the ROLLY fight, or forget the Kambosos fight. The chance that ROLLY has is being a one-shot killer, one shot to kill the momentum, one shot to kill the ability of confidence in TEO. One shot to turn that whole corner that we've been all very concerned about with TEO and his father into disarray. It only takes one. And this is, like I said on Tuesday, the biggest puncher TEO's ever faced. Without a doubt. Let me move my mic so I'm not kidding it. My bad. This is the biggest puncher TEO has ever faced in his career. That is not a negotiable. That's not negotiable. That's not optional. That is the reality. There is no single-handed big puncher that we've seen TEO face off against that is as good and as strong as ROLLY. Let me not say as good, as strong, as powerful, as much of a night artist if he lands on you right. Change everything. Question everything, just like he did with Ryan Garcia. That's where stuff comes dangerous. And if TEO's slickness, specifically, his ability to throw and roll all at the same time, that's what this fight's going to come down to. Let's call a spade a spade.
And he floats like a butterfly and hits like a tree.
That's what we're going to need to see TEO be on this night tonight, because that's what it's going to take to go and still be offensive, aggressive, and outright able to win the day. Now, Richard Comey still exists. I think TEO got a bigger punch than Richard Comey. Not TEO, excuse me, ROLLY. I think ROLLY has a bigger punch than Richard Comey. Now, this isn't me, again, this is my personal opinion. Because of the weight, because of the known and respected power across multiple divisions that we've heard people talk about with the likes of Rolly Romero I think Rolly is the stronger puncher than Richard Cummings. And Richard Cummings was in terms of how he threw his punches. You could argue he was better. Not even argue. I think most people would agree when TEO beat Comey. Comey was an outright nightmare for most. On top, more than just the power, but the power was the biggest icing on his skillful cake that he brought to the table. That's why when he knocked him out, it was so incredible. That was one of the catalysts of what made TEO one of the biggest names in the sport, because he knocked out Comey in such dramatic fashion. I believe he knocked out Comey in dramatic fashion. I'm trying to make sure I got my memory right. So let me make sure I got my memory right. I believe he did knock him out. I believe he did knock him out during that tear of running through the division when in his younger days in lieu of the fight with Lomachenko. We were seeing that power absolutely be dangerous. But this, I think this, because of the physical frame, the known exuding force of just stocky weight, and the explosive nature that even had Tank having to respect the likes of Rolly Romero, which you don't respect nobody. I'm picking Rolly as the most dangerous puncher to me. But that's some people can say that's picking straws. Some people can say that, that's just my opinion. The point is, number one and number two, he's like that. Number one and number two, whatever you want to have him as, he is right there. He is in that vicinity of conversation. Don't let the performances of Rolly in the past, like against Isaac Cruz or like against Barrosos, don't let that fool you about who exactly Rolly is in terms of his physical diameter of danger. He is a monstrous force when it comes to physical aggression. No matter who he's going up against, it is a problem. He's gained patience. He's gained a bunch of things that normally he didn't have in his boxing career. And that's the truth. He's gained stuff that has turned him into a whole new animal, a persona, in what he showed against Ryan Garcia. Now, the question is it going to stick? That's the question. Is it going to stick? Is it going to stay? Is it going to still be the same level of useful patience and useful ability to not goad yourself into danger? Or was it just a one-time situation? We're going to find that out. But if he is still patient, Teo better be mindful. Body or head, he can get caught and hurt at this division, yeah. And Teo's power may not be nearly as strong up here at 147. In fact, that's not even a rumor. That's confirmed. His power is nowhere close to what it was in the prime of his career at 135. Since he moved up to 140, and even here at 147 now in a new weight division, it's been a whole new game of flow where his physical dimensions still are existing. He's still quick. He's still strong. He's still slick, and he can still do all this stuff. But the dimensions of him as a puncher have changed. His hook doesn't just spark you out and put you to sleep like it used to in the past. You ain't hearing that bomb go off nearly as much no more. His jab ain't rocking you back and setting you up to get thrown across the ring. That uppercut ain't doing nearly the same level of damage as it used to in the past. Now, these are not detractions against his ability. This is detractions against the power that used to translate into KOs with his ability added on. And one thing about Rolly, if Rolly doesn't see you as a powerful asset against him, he is willing to take some and give some. Take some more chances with that explosive nature and try to go and really get to you. And if he sees that he can actually hurt you and you can't hurt him, there's a danger as to what Rolly can turn into with a momentum of confidence behind him. That's what I'm saying that you better be concerned about if we're looking at Teo, because his ability is still there. But one thing about power covers a multiplicity of issues or lacking in skill. And even if you have skill, sometimes power without that can be the thing that turns you into a fighter that loses on the night. Canelo versus Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant had all the skill, but because he didn't have no power and he kept getting walked down by Canelo, what happened? We saw him get knocked out. That's what happened. Anthony Yard versus David Benavidez. Because you did not have the power to push me back, you got walked down. Yeah, it was still, Benavidez still did a bunch of skillful stuff, but even if he didn't, it would have been, you just can't hurt him. From what we thought, he was supposed to hurt him. Next thing you know, oh my gosh, ate the punch, kept on walking, and boom, 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 boom. Next thing you know, he gets stopped on the ropes. It is a saving grace of sorts to have a level of power that has somebody needing to respect. It would be best if he had that with TEO, because with TEO against ROLLY, that's the biggest thing that can work against ROLLY. Let's look at history. ROLLY versus Barrosos. What the word made ROLLY almost lose, should have lost that fight and was going to get knocked out in that fight. It was because, even if you want to say Barrosos is slow, even if you want to say Barrosos is old, because he was, 41, 42 at that point in time, Barrosos had Rolly Romero flung across the ring with a hook that was blocked, and Rolly Romero was in a world of trouble. He got blocked, and Rolly was concerned because the amount of power that brother was bringing. We all thought Rolly was going to win that fight. Next thing you know, all of a sudden, Rolly is getting knocked down. Almost got knocked down again. And we thought, he's about to go to sleep. This cat cannot compete. It is so overwhelming that this brother is just, he's out of sorts. Isaac Cruz, aggression and power. It started out hot. It got hotter, and the brother just never let up in aggression in terms of Isaac Cruz on Rolly, and he kept catching Rolly, and Rolly never felt confident in any regard because this brother's power in Isaac Cruz was just so overwhelming on the night of the fight. And Isaac Cruz, as we know, is a one-trick pony. Brother, that trick is a good trick. Why? Because it's backed with power. Not just with a good chin and a high guard. The best, arguably the best hooker in boxing is Isaac Cruz, but it ain't just because of technique. That brother got pop. Real pop. And real pop has made Rolly Romero shrink. Real pop has made Rolly Romero shrink. Has made him frazzle. Has made him unnerved. Has rattled the cage of Rolly. Real power. And I don't think TEO has it up here at 147. I don't. That's the biggest concern. I don't think he has that type of real power at 147. And it might be harder than he thinks to go and work like he wants to. Because the power that he thought was going to be there ain't there. Just me. Let me see. Oh yeah, KO them cold in the second. Yep, it was in the second. Thank you for the validation. I had to make sure I had my my stuff correct when it came to me talking about the fight. Also, let me straighten up my camera just a tad. I don't know why. I feel like this thing gets crooked as I'm recording. I don't know why. When it seems like it's straight, next thing you know, I'm looking at it again, and it looks a little bit tilted. Hopefully everything still looks good, and I think we got it fixed. Now, let me keep on reading your chats and responses. Jerome Holmes, how you doing? Good to see you. We thank you for joining our show and tuning in and being a part of our live stream. If you would, leave a like on the video. Keep on sharing the show with the masses all across the globe. We are talking Rolly and TEO Fight Week. We're talking about last predictions, last thoughts, what's next. We're also going to be discussing INOUE, Bam, and the rest of his potential career come 2027, because INOUE is now confirmed he's going to be fighting next year, but no longer this year. But we're going to be talking about that and so much more right here on this show. We want to hear from you in all regards of life. Let me see. I think TEO might be Rolly easy. Shakur's style was all wrong for TEO. And in fact, that actually brings up a good point about Teofimo Lopez and the whole style argument going against what happened on that night. He goes through and talks about exactly what was the problem for that fight with Shakur. And I don't think it was the fact that it was all wrong. I think more so it was the fact that TEO thought Shakur's plan would be different. The style wasn't the concern, it was the execution that Shakur miscalculated as they're prepping for that fight. And if you don't believe me, I will let it play right now so you can see exactly what's going on. Also, Durag, Johnny Durag, how you doing? Good to see you. We thank you so much for tuning into the show. We appreciate you on our live stream, and thank you for the support and love. We're getting ready to play a clip of TEO versus Shakur, comparing that style with ROLLY. But before we do, let me read your chats real quick before we get you that segment in the show. It seems like TEO is broken mentally and isn't over that Shakur loss. See, y'all are, this is why we do this show. Y'all are flowing exactly where I'm trying to go when it comes to the conversation with TEO. I'm going to play this clip with TEO reacting to Shakur. We're going to answer both Holmes and Durag's comments in regards to the mental state of TEO and the game plan going in for ROLLY, how it's going to be different stylistically. Let me play the clip right now so you can see exactly what was going to be said from the likes of Teofimo Lopez as we transition back into picture in picture. This is TEO talking about what went wrong in the fight with Shakur on the Ariel Helwani show. Just making sure you all can see it. Yes, you can see it. And now let us play.
What went wrong against Shakur? Rarely have we seen you kind of in a type of fight like that, right? I mean, that was quite dominant on his end. What went wrong in your opinion?
I'd say what went wrong would be the just the game plan. You know, he's a class act, a defensive fighter at that, and I think the whole thing was just the miscommunication and possibly just taking a fight with Shakur really at this particular time. Maybe earlier on after the Taylor and all those type of fights would have been best. But we just move forward now. You know, the whole thing we could do now is learn from it and move forward and just take over the next weight division, which is right now the welterweight division.
Did he surprise you? Like, was he better than you thought he would be?
No, I always knew Shakur had the goods. I just thought he would be more offensive. That's all. I mean, but he didn't need to do much. All he had to do was keep his distance, use his jab, and stay from that range. And he won successfully. I could say, to me personally, that was my first defeat that I ever took. But it was one that I needed to realize everything that I know now. You know, I just got to trust in myself and trust in my instincts moving forward on with my body, listen to my body, and at the same time, make sure my team is in check, so to speak.
So when you say that, like he could have been more offensive, was it frustrating? Were you expecting like more action out of him? Is that what you're saying?
Honestly, I would have liked it to be that way. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because for those moments where he's throwing those combinations, I still have him in that pocket to engage with him, you know, and at least get some of my shots in. But, you know, things worked out the way he did. They worked on their game plan. They successfully succeeded that night, you know, and it's, but I don't really like associating and talking about Zuffa fighters. I really don't.
Okay, outside, I didn't hear that last part. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part when I was getting ready to play this clip. I did not expect him to take a shot at Zuffa fighters. That's a whole other conversation. But in the realm of our talking point, we're discussing this situation with TEO and Shakur. TEO thought Shakur would throw more. TEO was looking for those opportunities to throw in the pocket so that he could have more chances to actually land with those rolling momentum shots he was trying to do. Get him in a space where he could be more active and proactive with his own offensive game plan. But that's just not how Shakur goes. And even in the ring, from what you've seen from other fights, it is a different world. And Shakur realized it. And to Jerome Holmes' point, yeah, I think what Jerome Holmes said it, the style of Shakur was just the wrong thing for him. It was just a polar opposite, as well as the miscalculations of exactly what type of style, even if it was a bad stylistic matchup, would have been when you actually experienced in the ring. He also brought up the coach corner and all that stuff was all messed up behind the scenes, like we covered earlier in the show, which has now been confirmed by TEO Sr. All of that led to what we see on that night. He still got beat, got whooped. ROLLY is not nearly the hard task of figuring out like we see with Shakur. He's still dangerous, but he's not nearly as unnerving from a skill set perspective. If we're going to value the skills like we value on this show, the stuff that did not work against Shakur should work against Rolly Romero. It should, if everything is as it's supposed to be. If it doesn't, though, well, you're going to have some big time concerns. I promise you that. But that's why this stylistic matchup, if you want to say Shakur was in favor for TEO stylistically in their fight, TEO should be stylistically at an advantage in this fight with Rolly. And it should be that should win him today. At least to me. But only time will tell, and we will see as we continue to talk about this fight as a whole. And we still want to make sure. Where's my topic? There we go. Okay, just had to make sure. Had to make sure we didn't lose them. Let me keep on reading your thoughts and opinions. They both have and defensive, orthodox on orthodox. I got TEO. Yeah, no. If it's the same stance, TEO most likely is going to win the day on that fact of the matter. Shakur never destroys any of his opponents. He has pillow hands, and again, that's not bad. Now he did pick apart like a vulture Teofimo Lopez to get a bunch of swelling, bunch of cuts, bunch of bruising, and he had a performance that, hey, brother, pillow hands or not, that brother had some great stuff. And he showed that he can still, even if it's just pot shotting, it'll accumulate. And he can pick you apart. He can pick you apart like a vulture in the desert, just ripping pieces out of the carcass, and you just can't fight back. That's what TEO felt like in that fight. Shakur beat up Jamal Herring and stopped him in the 10th. Yes, he did. Absolutely. Foster never won't Foster just whoop him. So we can discuss. We're gonna go into Foster Neverete right after. Give me 5 minutes. Now, I do want to say one last thing on this TEO fight before we move forward. But Neverete and Foster, we're about to jump to that in the next segment. Trust me, we are. If I can say one last thing about this fight with TEO and Rolly, before we move on, there is a need for Rolly to get back on top. More importantly, I think what we see, or rather what we saw from the fight with Shakur, is going to drive a level of hunger that should show up and show out on this night. A lot of emotions at play when it comes to this fight with TEO and Rolly because of the need to succeed based on the last, what he may consider an embarrassing performance. He even said himself, to him, that is the first real loss he's ever had in his career. Yes, he's had other losses on his resume. But we're talking about in terms of self-feeling defeat. I know I got beat, and I can't make any excuses for anything because he was just better. Shakur's the only guy that he's saying, yeah, he actually beat me with no strings attached, and he was just too good. He's looking to bounce back from that feeling, from that frustration, needing to make up for what he showed on that night. There's going to be a hunger from both fighters, but I think for TEO, it's a more desperate need to get back to the mountaintop. Because in part in his life, boxing is his comfort zone. It's his muse of sorts. He doesn't want to lose this. The big moments, the big flash, the shine, all that stuff. Doesn't want to lose that. This loss, as we've seen, 3 losses can go and de-elevate a star. You don't want that. TEO is desperate not to have that happen again. So, I strongly feel we're going to see an extra oomph of motivation from the likes of TEO on this night with Rolly. And that's one of the biggest underlying reasons, the X factor per se, as to why I think we're going to see him win. I really do. There's going to be a difference in desperation in a good way, not in a bad way. That is going to have him locked in a way that he maybe hasn't been in for a hot minute. If we see that, great. Going forward, should be phenomenal victory. We're going to see what happens afterwards. But let me keep on reading your thoughts and opinions. TEO Sr. needs to actually be able to coach him in the corner, and that is the biggest question. If he can't do that, drop him. This is the fight. This is a make or break relationship. I've said that. I said at the start of the show. It's make or break for him right now. TEO versus Ryan will happen for the Latino fans. It is a possibility. Before we go, who fights who next? If we see TEO win, if TEO beats ROLLY, if TEO beats ROLLY, we can see TEO fight Ryan Garcia. Exciting fight that would make sense. Fight for a title, unified title, big time movie, big time shaking, big time mouth, big time opportunity to get the world to buy in to two figures of the sport that are polar, well, I'm not going to say polar opposites, but close together in personality, but separate in how they go about it. Very interesting. I would not be surprised if we don't get Ryan versus Devin Haney next. We would then most likely get TEO versus ROLLY as the next fight on the docket of conversation for the unified championship at 147 pounds, welterweight. Because it makes sense, lucratively makes sense, marketing-wise it makes sense, everything about it would make sense to happen. And I could see it. I could absolutely see it without question. What's crazy is Ryan can only beat TEO if he is able to knock him down. Now, I think that fight's more... I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Because, and we can talk about this later, because we want to make sure we cover the other stuff on the show. But Ryan versus TEO might be a more dangerous conversation for TEO than we may think. That fight, that might be a more dangerous conversation for TEO than we may think if they fought against each other. Stylistically and physically. Because I can't, PEDs or not. Actually, no, yeah, PEDs in, yeah. We understand the context behind that fight with Devin Haney. But even still, without PEDs against Barrios, he did the exact same stuff that he did to Devin Haney. Good feet or no good feet, that Ryan Garcia gives anybody problems that maybe tries to rely on some movement as their defining factor to victory. With slickness. That's the one thing I can say about Ryan Garcia. If you're slick against him, you're going to have yourself a rough night. That's the one thing I can say. If you're slick against Ryan Garcia, you're not going to be in a night where, oh yeah, it's going to be easy. No. It might be tougher than you may expect. We'll touch on that later on in the show. Devin versus Shakur needs to happen. Winner fights TEO and Ryan winner. Devin and Shakur, that's not going to happen. That's not. We can put that to bed today. That's never going to happen. I hate that it's not going to happen, but we can put that to bed right now. That fight will never happen. That fight will most likely never happen unless we see Shakur get up to 147, which he is still on the fence. We don't know where he's going to fight. 135, 140, 147. What's he going to do? Who knows? Who knows? That's the problem. There's no fight we can make for Shakur. We don't know where he's going to fight. We know what organization. We don't know what he's going to do. And again, point of emphasis, he has yet to make a fight with El Rayo. He has yet to make a fight with anybody under Zuffa at the moment. And we're supposed to be having that as the most logical fight he can have available under the Zuffa banner. He could make that fight and have a fight at the end of the year. Where is the talks? Where's the negotiation? He signed the deal. Where's the movement? He signed the deal. Where's the action? This is looking like Jake Paul with the PFL. When he signed with the PFL, and then he did not go and actually get an MMA fight in the PFL. And just took him for literally a ride. What the world? Ridiculous in all accounts. Stupid in every regard, but it happened nonetheless. That's what we are concerned about. That's the danger. That's the fear. That is the problem with Shakur right now. Forget just the other fights. Are you getting a fight at all? You have not fought since January. Do we forget that? You have not fought since January. What's going on? What's going on? Again, humbly, I ask, what the word's going on? But before we continue, we got to make it like we got to keep with the date of the show. We want to make sure we cover. We want to make sure we cover the other topics of discussion, like with the fight between Emmanuel Navarrete and where's it? Here it is. Emmanuel Navarrete and O'Shaquie Foster are now in a legitimate fight to be, because they're gonna be fighting on October 24th of this year. Yes, sir. Around Halloween, we're gonna see them be mean against each other, as we got a fight between two of some of the biggest threats in the division for the Unified Championship at 130 pounds. Oh yes, 3 belts, 1 champion is going to be crowned. 1 man to hold all the gold is now set in stone for the world to hone in and look and see what's going to take place between two opposite styles that have separated themselves from the globe. We are talking Emmanuel Navarrete and O'Shaquie Foster. Aftershock beat Raymond Ford. Aftershock beat Stephen Fulton. Aftershock kept on accumulating belts and wins, and after not getting a fight with Shakur Stevenson, now we're getting a fight between him as the sniper-like puncher, the 1-2 artist himself with length and precision, going against a man who sweeps the floor with every punch, but absolutely decimates anybody that steps in his way. And Emmanuel Navarrete, in my opinion, the 10th best fighter in the globe, and Emmanuel Navarrete going against him in a fight for the ages. That's what this is going to be, a fight for the ages. And I'm telling you right now, this is going to be an absolute spectacle on the 24th. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to have it happen. And in my opinion, who's going to win that fight, if we may, I'm picking Navarrete. I'm going to say it. I'm picking him. I'm picking him. I'm picking Navarrete. I'm picking Emmanuel Navarrete to go and get that win, go and get that victory. I do not want to pick against Navarrete until he loses, because I have yet to see a style, no matter how precise, work to stop the unpredictable aggression that we see from Emmanuel. That's the one thing I've answered. I've yet to see somebody. I even said this when Lomachenko was going to fight, or when the opportunity of Lomachenko was going to be on the table to fight Navarrete. I said, if he's coming back, Lomachenko does not need to touch Emmanuel at this point in time, because that brother right now is looking way too dangerous, way too scary, way too broken in the framework of breaking whatever game plan you want to have, strictly because he one of the best chins in boxing, has gotten better stamina that many people have said, oh my gosh, how in the world, you're now in shape? And you're actually gotten better defensively, gotten a better boxing ring generalship around how you need to fight. And you've been tested, proven, and consistently getting more and more demonstrative. It's hard for me to pick against him. It really is. But let me see your thoughts and opinions. But I'm picking Navarrete at this point in time. Let me see. I'm not paying for a Shakur fight unless he fights Devin Haney. Well, you probably ain't going to be paying for a bunch of money. You probably ain't going to be paying for a lot of stuff. Because that boy ain't going to be fighting Devin Haney no time soon. I can promise you that. I think Conceição was better than Navarrete when they fought. That's fine. That's fine. But when it comes to, I mean, Navarrete's skill isn't about the skillful technique. It's about the artistry of unpredictability. His whole thing is you can't read him. That's what makes him so hard to beat. You cannot read him. It is impossible to read somebody that fights in the way that he doesn't even know what he's going to do. It's almost like Deadpool. If anybody's a fan of comic books, it's almost like Deadpool. You don't know what, Deadpool doesn't even know what he's going to do before he does it, hand-to-hand combat. And Navarrete just about fights that same way. He'll go from a jab to a swing. I'm talking about a Sendo level. For those of you that watch Hazame no Ippo, great boxing anime, you should watch it if you haven't already. But a Sendo type uppercut. literally striping the floor, going into another one with the same hand off bat. It's such a confusing and detrimental style of any chance you take to try to make an adjustment can end in you going and hitting the canvas and or just being caught with bricks for hands from somewhere you can't see coming. And he can reach you from across the ring. Your jab can be meaningless simply because, brother, when I'm out of range from my best weapon, somehow every weapon that he throws, he's in range to have. And you can't hurt him. Outside of the fight with Wilson, when he first moved up to a division, you can't hurt the brother. His chin is like granite. It's like iron. It's literally one of the most durable things we got in boxing right now. And he just faced off against somebody that was a knockout artist. We keep, and he's getting better with his defense, slipping, rolling, blocking. He's actually applying tactics to not just eat punches while still moving forward. He's an anomaly. His stamina got better. His awareness of situational circumstances got better. Everything is different with Emmanuel now. He's thinking more. He is acting less on impulse and more on game plan, but they are not overlapping to cancel each other out. Instincts and game plan, they are now blending together. At any point in time, I know the plan I need to do. I can deviate from it and never fully get out of the ultimate goal of what my coach or corner said. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. It is unfiltered violence. It's uncanny. It's scary. That's what it is. It's scary. And as great as Shock is, but I'm very concerned. I don't think this fight, I don't know if he can win. I don't know if he can win. And this is with anybody that Emmanuel fights at this point in time at 130. It's hard for me to pick anybody to beat him because his style, unless you are able to outsize him significantly, it's going to be tough for me to say that somebody can go through and really take it to him. It's going to be tough, really tough. Again, just from what I've been seeing as he grows as a fighter. I got Navarrete versus Foster will be a 50-50 fight. And again, it's close. This is not me picking Navarrete. It's not me saying this isn't a close fight. Big clip, this fight happening in October is indeed a 50-50 type of affair. That's not going away. That's real. That's real. That is real in all regards of facts. That's real. It's just the fact that Shock is gonna be in a situation he's never been in before. And that's what makes this fight so scary. That's what makes this fight so concerning. That's what makes this fight, among every other fight that we've seen him in, one of the most detrimental potentially of Shock's career. Because Shock has never been in the ring with somebody this fervent with damage and an overwhelming sense of hopelessness. Because with Emmanuel Navarrete, that's what he brings to everybody that he fights against. He is a Terminator in a way that it isn't just about eating punches. You cannot escape his onslaught no matter how good your jab is, no matter how good or how sharp you want to be. Every fighter we've seen him in the ring with has tried every manner of things, straights, jabs, counters, slips, and it's all fell by the wayside by the time the fight's over because he stops you. And it gets to a point where everybody's saying, but I tried everything. What do I do? What do I do? Shock has never faced that before. Shoot, I'll even say this, Lomachenko, when that fight was potentially on the table of happening, when Lomachenko came back from 130, he's never faced something like that before in any of his opponents. You can say TEO is better, absolutely. I'm talking about, in terms of at that point in time, I'm talking about we talked about this way before, earlier in this show's lifespan, the art of fear in boxing. The art of emotion in a sport filled with emotion. It is one of the more detrimental and killing aspects of this sport from a fighter's perspective. That if you feel helpless, you fight helpless. Even if somebody is not as good as you. Sonny Liston mastered that. Mike Tyson mastered fear. George Foreman. People walked away from the fight in the middle of the fight because they stated, I saw death staring me in the face. The idea of helpless ability makes people completely shelve whatever skill they could try to do to win. The idea that I'm sinking in a ship of sand. Yes, sand. Because water you can swim out of. Sand, if you get too deep, you're stuck. You're done. It is a cocoon of punching, of consistent forward aggression that just stifles. And it doesn't surgically rip away. It just simply shotgun blasts you in the face. The power and just the consistent everywhere all at once. You're just going to get out of nowhere a 5-punch combination. Huh? We're throwing an uppercut from my side of the ring and it's going to hit you. And you got to get out the way. Don't try to counter me. Because if you miss, now you're getting a 4-punch combination. And you can't stop that. And right when I stop, I'm starting right again. The second you think you got to open and throw a jab, there's another hook coming. Oh my gosh, wait, okay, he's stopping now. Now I'm punching and now I'm missing. I thought he was going to throw. Wait, when is he going to throw? Oh shoot, where did that uppercut come from? His hand's here. How in the world did the punch land at the back of my head? I saw his fist miss. How in the world did something hit me from my chin when I know I evaded the shot? What the world is going on? It's just a whirlwind. It's a whirlwind. That's what the millionaire Verete does to people. And Shock has not faced that yet. How he handles it is going to be incredibly interesting. But on the whole, of if he is able to beat it with as great as his jab is, with as great as his execution of recent fights has been, I'm going to be really interested to see how he handles that man. It's going to be, boy, if he cannot continue to just keep Navarrete at bay, and it turns into a point where his jab is starting to wear, and it's not effective, then it's going down into it's your offense versus my offense. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not picking against Navarrete on that. I'm not. I am not. I can't. How does boxing make money? Everyone has a magic stick now. I mean, a lot of people do. People still pay. A lot of people still pay. It's just, if they made it easier, everybody will pay some more. But no, they still making money. Trust me, they still, even with sticks, they still find a way. Trust me. Brinchick took that away, and Brinchick is not better than Foster or Conceição. And Foster will use both open and close stance, kind of similar to Brinchick. You're right. It's just, here's the thing. It's not about taking away the opportunities of Emmanuel. The whole point that makes it tough for Navarrete, you can't take everything away. But unlike with other fighters who only rely sometimes on 2 bread and butter things, Emmanuel doesn't rely on just one base weapon as the biggest go-getter. The uppercut absolutely goes through. Absolutely. That's his best punch. That sweeping uppercut. But once that gets thrown, it's a who's who of what he's going to throw next. The only thing you may be able to predict is how the stuff starts. But once that goes into force, and even if it doesn't start with an uppercut, the best thing you can say, we know an uppercut is coming. Great. Now what? Because when is it going to come through? Is it going to be the second punch in the combination? Is it going to be the third or fourth? Is it going to be that it starts the next one? I've seen him be able to render people that are better skilled, render them useless, boil them down like chicken broth. Because no matter, as the fight keeps on going on, he just doesn't forget just not getting tired. You can't stop everything. It's the identity of Zepeda or the idea of Isaac Cruz, where, okay, I'm gonna just keep on throwing, I'm gonna just keep on going, and I'm never gonna let up. It's that idea of mantra, but coupled with a even more unpredictable and rangy level attack that even as he closed the distance, you get worse, because now it's turning into, he's still lunging, but I have to get out the way of everything because I can't risk being on the bad end of this. That very fear drives people to all of a sudden make more mistakes, or they just get worn down. They just get worn down. You're forced to evade everything. You're forced to be on the back foot. You're forced to have to go and all of a sudden say, hey man, wait a minute. As the fight keeps going, he keeps on getting closer and closer. I'm having to use a lot of energy to get out the way of stuff. I got to be on my toes at all times because he keeps on changing up the style, the flow, the scope of where he's trying to throw. Switching combinations. His rhythm gets stranger as the fight goes on. His cadence of when it's my turn, your turn, kind of like with Tekken, it's my turn to throw and my turn to attack. If I block it, or excuse me, in Tekken, I'm again big gamer, in Tekken, when a fighter fights each other, the way it goes generally is anybody can throw at any point in time, but it's called turns. You try to attack, if I block and I get you to where up, you missed a punch or you missed a kick, boom. Now it's my turn to try to counter and start my own brand of offense. But with Navarrete, you don't really know when your turn is because he's so unpredictable in the way that you're able to change the scope of the layout of his offense. When he should not start, he does start throwing. When it doesn't make sense to go and start a chain of combinations, he's starting the chain of combinations. When he goes and tries to change up his own flow of work, he does it at the most inopportune time of what logically you should be doing. He breaks every rule and reason of what a fighter should be trying to do. Yet it works out because his very identity is chaos. His very identity of what a boxer is to him is chaos. You're not supposed to be able to predict me. I stop when I want to stop, but if there's an opening, oh shoot, okay, boom, I'm going to take it. I take a lot of risk. I take risks, I dare say, Emmanuel Navarrete takes more risk in boxing than we've seen just about anybody else in this sport with how his idea of offense flows. But it's crazy because it works for him because that very identity of I don't care, I'm just going to do it, makes everybody else around him, specifically the opponent in front of him, question everything. Because let's be very honest. If you were fighting against him, you were a trained fighter, you'd be like, there's no way this guy's that stupid. He's gonna throw a punch from that far away. There's no way. This brother just saw me block 3 of his 5-punch combination and something grazed me. I'm about to counter him. There's no way this man would want to throw back again. It's my turn. There's no way he would throw an 8-punch combination here at this angle and try to start his offense from this range. No way. And then he does it. But then when it starts landing, now it's like, oh, shoot, wait a minute. How do I operate in that? Wait, hold on. His range is there? His combinations start down there? You mean to tell me he can still throw when there is no space on the ropes? And from him trying to, if I back up to reset, I'm not going to have time to reset because he will punch until I'm back across the ring? What the world? There's no, even the trained boxing mind just can't comprehend breaking the rules like Neverete breaks them, because everybody's looking the same way, saying this brother should have gotten knocked out years ago, but somehow he's turned into the biggest X factor in this division and one of the biggest boogeymen in the entirety of 130 and 135, strictly because this brother does everything that should not work, and more so than it just works, he is going and mopping the floor with people. And the normal stuff that I should be able to take advantage of, I can't. That Shock has a great jab. He's got a great sense of range. Stiff. It's rugged. It breaks through the guard and lands on your chin or hits you on the temple. He can shoot out his jab consistently. All of that's perfect. I'm just scared what's going to be like if he gets rendered useless, and we see him, his best weapon ain't working, and now we got a scrap. And if he got a scrap, I love him, but it might get bad. It might get really bad. Let me see. Mr. Miyagi, how you doing? Good to see you. We appreciate you on the show. Thank you for tuning in and listening to our live stream. Also, let's see. This is 60-40 for Foster because he has more tools, but a manual with a nutritionist is a problem. I can't predict it, but I'm very excited. See, that's the whole problem. We're forgetting the fact that Neverete was doing all this on a bad diet. We complain with Ryan Garcia when he came in overweight, absolutely. We complained with Stephen Fulton, who came in 130, and he well and good overweight twice. And he looked like a bum. He did. He looked like a bum in that fight. Emmanuel Neverete routinely, up until like 2 fights ago, was doing all of this work against Oscar Valdez and beyond, rematching people on a bad diet of junk food, cola, and whatever the word he could do. That's it. And it was mopping the floor. He got a nutritionist to better get his health, reflexes, physical ability even better. Shock is going to be in for a very rude surprise. Because O'Shaquie Foster can win this fight because of his jab and because of his distance control. There's anything that can make Shock win this fight, it's because O'Shaquie Foster would have the capacity to be able to render Emmanuel Neverete's range useless. Because Neverete's range is literally the entire ring. But if Neverete is able to get caught with a jab while he's trying to throw with that uppercut across the ring, all of a sudden, the points of emphasis to where normally you couldn't hit him, now you can. If you can just get into some of those pockets of seemingly invulnerability that we see Neverete throw, where it's just, I have no choice but to get out the way. If you can land there and start countering there, that builds a roadblock to get stuff going, to get stuff changing, to get stuff happening. And to make it so that we see some big time shifts in the world of Shock building a lead, building momentum, being able to, when the fight gets late, hey, all right, better than any other opponent, I've got a better understanding of the true scope of the range and danger level of Neverete. Absolutely. It's just a matter of how good can he fight? That's my biggest question. Because if anybody can turn a boxing match into a fight, it is Emmanuel. And that's how he's won every single time. He's a brawler. He is a swarmer. He is a absolute force of reckoning because he breaks the rules. He won't let you box against him. He's trying to knock you out. More than knock you out, he knocks you out by using your own boxing fundamentals against you. Because I'm doing stuff that you are trained to do a certain thing, a certain way, and because of that, I'm going to take you out. How does Shock fight the Ultimate Fighter? How does one of the most stringent and fundamental fighters in O'Shaquie Foster beat the ultimate rule breaker? How does it happen? Especially if you aren't able to hurt him. Again, we're going to find out. But it's just food for thought as we get this talking point of this entire affair going when it comes to the world of boxing and beyond. Let me keep on reading your thoughts and opinions on the show today as we want to make sure we keep on going and hearing what you had to say. No nutritionist or strength conditioning coach. Yeah, no, it's insane. People forget Emmanuel also has the same reach as Foster as well. Yes. He got the same reach. But the scope of how far he can punch feels drastically different, does it not? Drastically different. It feels incredibly, it feels ridiculously different. It's night and day. From the standpoint of how far we've seen him be able to catch somebody. He punches further than what his dimensions should say. It's insane. It's ridiculous. And again, the last thing before we move on to the rest of the show, because I don't want to harp on this too long, but this is a fight that most likely is gonna, when we start really delving into this, as the months come closer, we're gonna see this fight is one of the more confusing fights that we will have this year for all the right reasons, because everything about the makeup makes sense in terms of the matching up. But the reality is it's a whole different dimension of what this fight's going to be. Because if you look at it from the perspective of tail of the tape, you see the age, you see the reach, you see the record, you see the weight. Everything here looks like it is even. Everything here looks like it's even. Except for, the amount of fights that Never Ortiz had. Everything else looks almost identical. But I'm telling you right now, it's not. Because the extremes of one or the other, on both instances, those are going to be the dictating factors in this fight. And I can promise you, it's going to make a huge difference. Huge difference. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. I can't wait for this fight. I can't wait for that fight. It's going to be incredible. Let me see. The TEO versus ROLLY fight is the battle between Tank and Shakur's resume. Whoa, now that's a good way of looking at it. Hold on now, wait a minute. Now that's a unique way. Hold on. That's a unique way of looking at it. Some people may say that's a little bit of shade, but that's a unique way of looking at this fight as a whole. What win will age better? Tank beating ROLLY or Shakur beating TEO? I think if we're going to ask that, I think the answer would be TEO. I think the answer would be TEO. And let me read Timothy Taylor's comment first, and I will respond as to why that's the case afterwards. But I think it would be Teofimo Lopez. But I'll explain why. Let me read Timothy Taylor's thing, and I'm explaining why. Let me see. Timothy Taylor, how you doing? Good to see you. We thank you for showing up and tuning into our show. Please keep on liking the stream. Keep on sharing the show. The more you like, the more people come in to the conversation. The more voices to the conversation, the more we can go through and discuss the world of boxing independence and the sports landscape as a whole together, all as one. Can Foster get a fair decision if he doesn't have a high punch output? That's going to be another conversation. No, see, you're getting, y'all can't be taking all my content for the future weeks of the show. Hey, man, we got to make sure we save some stuff, don't we? we gotta make sure that I got some stuff to talk about. Y'all are eating too far ahead into the discussion. This is gonna be something that as the months go on, we're gonna bring this up. We absolutely are. Because it's a sniper versus a shotgun. And we're gonna paint the picture of this fight. The question is exactly this. If it went to a decision, the benefit of the doubt, would Shock's sniper-like precision and accuracy, like he showed against Stephen Fulton, overwhelm and outdo Manny Navarrete's consistent barrage of shotgun blast of combinations and attacks and power damage if it went to 12 rounds? That's a question that we're going to answer later on in detail. Again, as the fight gets closer, we start unraveling the fight a little bit more. Gotta have content, we gotta pace it out. But just know that's gonna be one of the biggest questions of this fight, without a doubt. And that's gonna be one of the biggest questions that in reality, without question, it will dictate how Foster will fight. Not Navarrete. It's going to dictate how Foster will fight. Because Foster will have to make a change if the answer to this is no. If the answer to this is a maybe, he's going to have to make a change. And even if the answer is yes, he will get the benefit of the doubt. He'll get the benefit of the doubt if it is clean work without him getting touched. But if he is getting touched, and the judges see the damage, the swelling, the blood, all that stuff, they could still swing the other way. Foster's output is going to be dictated by what he can outweigh in the scoring column. Because he can't hurt him. He's going to have to outpoint him. And if he can't outpoint him boxing, you're going to have to outwork him fighting. But he's going to have to make the change. You're going to have to make the change. If he doesn't, great. He can win the fight, sure. But most likely, like we've seen with the history, you got to change for Navarrete. If you're good enough, you can change and still be fine. But if not, it's going to be tough to make it something happen. Tough. But these are the questions that we're going to be asking later on as time goes on in this show. I promise you. But it's a great question. Great question. Let me see. But going back to TEO and ROLLY, and which fight win would mean more, it would be TEO. Because of the earlier body of work, and in a lot of cases, the wins that Ryan Garcia, or the wins with Ryan Garcia specifically, with ROLLY. Let me rephrase it, I'm sorry. ROLLY and Ryan Garcia, that win is still hindered in some ways by the context of the injury. And Garcia wasn't the same. What we see with Garcia against Barrios is a whole lot different than the fight that we see with him against Rolly Romero. That's the real Ryan Garcia that we've known, loved, and thought we would see on that night against Rolly. Rolly beating TEO, people would say, if he did beat him, Shakur dominated Rolly, or Shakur dominated TEO. Shakur ruined TEO. Rolly got a damaged TEO. Hence, it's a great win, but it doesn't pan out to the resume would be better as a whole, at least in some people's eyes. I'm not saying that's everybody. Some people's eyes, that would be the case. I think TEO would age as the better win simply because of what TEO was in the context of when that win happened, or of when that win did happen. TEO was still reigning, dominating 147 at that point in time. When Shakur, 140, excuse me, not 147, 140, when Shakur beat him. So because of that, with the already established, even with the up and down career of TEO, with him being able to win multiple divisions, Lomachenko, Taylor, and otherwise, I think that win's going to age better. I think it's going to age better. ROLLY, even in the fight with Tank, I'm not going to say that win's going to de-age, but I was saying previously, hey, but I don't know. You know, I didn't view Rolly as elite at that point in time when he fought him. He put on a better performance than I expected, but because he got overzealous, because I knew his patience was going to wear it thin, he was going to walk himself into a knockout, and that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. And I was like, see, I knew this was going to be the case because this buddy at this level just isn't like that. And with these subsequent wins or subsequent fights after the likes of Tank, it was like, okay, all right, we see what Rolly was at that point in time. A longer downtrend of success versus a longer uptrend of success for TEO. So I think TEO would age as the better win when it's all said and done. Even if TEO lost to Rolly, I don't know if that would elevate TEO or elevate Rolly's name on Tank's resume as much as what TEO was at that point in time when Shakur beat him. I think TEO would still be the better overall win. Because, you know, one of the biggest talking points about that fight with Tank and Rolly talked his way into a big time opportunity. But Rolly was, most people were saying Rolly is not better and can't beat Tank at all. That was the going in consensus. This fight with TEO, that was a 50-50 fight. Legit for the masses. Again, for me. But that's how I feel on it. I think TEO would age better than Rolly, regardless of the outcome of this fight. Now, if Rolly wins against TEO and then also beats Ryan Garcia in a rematch, okay, now we're getting into a new conversation. But as of right now, I think TEO will still be the better win, in my opinion. Let me see. I already answered that with the fair opinion. Rolly has popped, but he hasn't legitimately stopped anybody since Yigit. Yeah, that's true in 2021. I can't count that old man Barroso's fight. Yeah, no, you should. Because it officially was a win, but it was it was one of the worst stoppages in history. It wasn't even a stoppage, no punch landed. When Barroso's was getting onslaughted by Rolly, not a punch landed. Tony Weeks made one of the worst stoppages we've ever seen. When Barroso was going to win that fight. Ridiculous. We're not taking that fight seriously. Because Barroso was going to win and should have won. But yeah, he hasn't knocked out somebody since Yigit. But he's knocked down somebody since then. Notable name Ryan Garcia. That changes the tune of what we can see at 147. The very fact that we can say, I saw Rolly knock down a high-profile name in Garcia at a bigger division, rather than I've seen any substantial level of power from the likes of anybody in TEO, from the likes of TEO at this same elevation in divisions, I would say I still think Rolly has more power. But you're right, it's a great point. Both of them have not had significant, boom, put you to sleep. Yeah, since Yigit. Or since TEO was at 135. You're not wrong about that at all. Let me see. TEO wins easy. Would force Shakur Stevenson to have to move to welterweight. If TEO won that fight easy at 147, I don't know if Shakur would be saying, okay, now I'm going to move up to 147. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Because what do you feel like TEO will be worth the time? Okay, I'm going to get a rematch. Because again, the belts don't matter to Shakur. That's the other side of this argument. If we want to even entertain the idea that TEO would get a fight up in the world of, or forced to move up in divisions, it's got to be the name is big enough. And for Shakur, TEO, because you already beat him, I don't know if we would even entertain, okay, hey, you've gotten better. Now I can fight you again up there and beat you at a higher division. I don't even think that's enough. I don't. And even still, I don't think he would ever want to move to 147 again, or ever. Up until like he gets to maybe 30. When his body's like, okay, I'm aging out. I gotta go. against my will. I need by force, not by choice. I got to move up to 147. Until that happens, I doubt anybody would get him to fight up there. Even because Devin Haney is the biggest fight he could get. One of the two. And if that's not enough, shoot. I don't think TEO going back up there would make a difference. I don't think. At least from the way that Shakur is moving right now, in my humble estimation. Let me say, oh, wait, hold on, wait a minute. We got somebody hold on, wait. Cash App, wait a minute. Somebody send me some money. Wait a second, hold on. We got Cash App from, who is this? Faust? Oh, shoot. Yo, Faust, what's going on? We thank you for the 50 bones on the Super Chat. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We got 50 bucks. 50 bucks. 50, in fact, it's not showing up in here. I'm gonna put it right here. 50 smackaroons from Faust on our show. Hold on a minute. Hold on. I don't know if I can say your full government name. We're gonna use. We're gonna be discreet. I'm gonna put it in the chat so we can actually bring it up on here. But $50 from Faust himself. We appreciate you on the show, and we appreciate you watching and listening, and we appreciate, let me make sure I got it spelled right. We appreciate you being a part of our empire and joining in on our show and giving your alms to the empire. I believe this is the biggest super chat to date, or biggest any amount of money that we've gotten from somebody on our show. We thank you so much. We appreciate the love and support. We appreciate everybody that tunes in with any amount of money that you can support with this channel. But again, from Cash Out, $50 from Faust supporting this show. We thank you so much for you being a part of this stream, for joining in on our live, and hey, helping us grow as a community. If anybody else wants to give to this show, we do have, yet again, Cash App and PayPal. Links down below in the description. Super Chat, super gifts, thanks and stickers, all that stuff to help us keep the lights on, help us pay the bills, and help us get this show going and continue to edify this show to make it better for you all to witness and enjoy. And again, Faust, we thank you so much for the 50 bones and the $50 in Cash App and the alms to the empire that you gave to this show. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate you supporting. We don't take nothing for granted without question. And hopefully you continue to watch, and hopefully you continue to share the show with the public all around the globe. Everybody, this is actually a good friend of mine, so that's why I'm trying to see if we can if we can squeeze out some more money from him, if you know what I mean. I'm kidding, Faust. Look, you know, I appreciate the support, my brother. For real. Thank you for showing up, and it means the world to me. See, I can joke like that because I know him. I thank you so much. It means the world to me. And if anybody else wants to help, we're like PBS. We can't do this without viewers like you. And it will mean the world to keep on supporting and to keep on joining in with support, with helping this channel grow. Absolutely. No question about it. But back to the conversation in the show as a whole. Let me keep on reading your chats and responses for the topic of discussion. Let me see. I have some different thoughts on them after some film study. Involving Emmanuel Navarrete. Well, let's talk about it. In fact, actually, we can go into the championship rounds right now and discuss the rest of the topics of conversation in this show. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump in and let you see, have your chats be seen and heard on this show and be a part of this conversation as we're in the championship rounds. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for your voice to be seen and heard, and it's time to have your voice added to the conversation of the boxing world to see what you have to say in anything regarding basketball, the NBA, NFL, boxing as a whole, any questions, comments, concerns, debates involving the show or beyond. We want you to hear about it. We're going to touch on it in a way, and this topics in this segment kind of molded into this framework of the last 30 minutes to an hour of this show, but we still want to hear from you in all regards of the world of boxing and the sports world and beyond. But let me see what you had to say in regards to Navarrete and his performance through what you've seen with your film study, Neverete drags the fight into mid-range late. It's going to get bad for Foster. Yep, thank you. But if Foster uses lateral movement and counters Neverete when coming forward, he can definitely get a decision. And that is a fair assessment to say without question. Also, Johnny Duras, thank you for the double 100 and your support to the channel without question. Considering Foster hasn't fought any pressure fighters on the same level as him, probably favoring Neverete for a decision, but something like 15-13 or a draw. No question about it. The power is probably going to be the deciding factor. Foster does indeed have the speed advantage, though. No problem there. That is you broke it down perfectly. This is what I was trying to say when it came to Foster and Neverete. The chaos is backed by power. And Foster's speed is something that if it cannot get him out of dodge, he's going to have to be able to fight. And the countering opportunities, they are there. Be very clear. They are there. We are not diminishing that Neverete is not open to throw. But I've said this about everybody who fights Neverete, good or bad. You know the ways to counter him. You can see it when you fight. But once you step in the ring, you understand why it's not easy to counter this cat. You understand why it's not easy just to go and say, okay, he's going to lunge forward and boom, I'm going to tag him. It's not that simple. Because if it was that simple, other people who were better skillful fighters than him would have been able to do it. Like Conceição. Or do it more thoroughly. Shoot, even Wilson, who almost knocked out Neverete, would have been able to finish the job. We saw Oscar Valdez have one of the best knockouts of the last decade when he knocked out Burchell. Had that brother shut down like a literal computer, systematically going body part by body part and just shutting down in terms of when he got caught. Insane. And he 2 times he fought him, he couldn't do a thing. The story is execution. Because the speed is going to be there. The movement is going to be there. Executing on the counters has to be the biggest MO. If he can execute on the countering, then the lateral movement comes into play. The footwork comes into play. The speed then comes into play as a deciding factor in victory. But the issue is, if the countering is not there, everything else always follows into falling away. Because the lateral movement gets cut off, or you get tired because you have to move so much. We forget one of the most dangerous aspects in boxing is the mental toll of a fight. That's why we say boxing is 90% mental and 10% physical. Thinking in the ring takes a toll on an opposition. You have to go and be so focused at times that it can sap your energy simply because you're firing off so much brain power trying to make sure you're doing the right stuff. And fighters can come through and they can make you think or worry to a point that now you're thinking so much, you're mentally taxing your body. We've seen it and we've heard fighters talk about it. And oftentimes with Neverete, for people that can move, that got better feet, that got better lateral speed and lateral movement as a whole, the issue is not the movement. It is the draining mental fatigue. You can't think that hard for that long without having some level of tiredness that affects your ability to move around the ring. And Neverete, that always takes place because he attacks the body. He makes you have to be aware of everything. And because of his activity flow, you always have to think hard about making sure you're doing what you need to do. There's no rest period. And if Foster faces off against that, the fear is that mental taxing ability of you have to go and think hard about everything going on in the fight is going to turn the body into a tired state because you can't turn it off, or you can't reset and rest or feel like you have time to calibrate. You just have to react. It's normally that's the case, and that wears on the body. And if that wears on the body, the legs always follow suit. And once that leg work starts to slow down, that's when trouble really starts to arise. And for Foster, because he hasn't faced this type of violent offensive mind that is this relentless before, that never lets you rest, no matter how sharp you may be able to throw out your jab and counter or control distance, no matter what, you can't get a chance to say, hey, I'm comfortable. I got this. Every opponent we've seen, that mental scope takes away their legs, coupled with the body attack that we never rotate throw. I'm just concerned that's what we can see happen with Foster. I'm very concerned. And how is he gonna respond? That's my biggest question. How is he gonna respond? Let me see. I noticed that too. Neverwhere has the same output. Yeah. You see, understand. Ryan Graves, anybody watching this show, when I talk about a fighter, I try to be as robust in understanding what makes them great. I'm not perfect by any means, but I try to paint a picture to let you understand why certain people are a problem. Neverrete's output is high at the start, and it gets higher by the midway point. And once it reaches that peak, he does not slow down. He speeds up. It's crazy. He's the opposite of a slow starter, but he is a slow starter. What do I mean? Neverrete is a fighter. Excuse me. Emmanuel Neverrete is a fighter that he doesn't start slow, but his engine takes time to really hit high gear. But his gear at low speeds is already high by everybody else's metric. Once he really gets it going and finally shifts into second and third gear, he's staying there. The only way to tire him out is to stop him. That's it. You got to deal with, you've thought so hard about getting into, okay, be safe, be smart, and now you are, every fighter he's faced against, they just start to wane naturally. And I'm still elevating, and now by round 5, 6, more so round 7, I'm in high gear. I'm not dropping from this point on. What you gonna do? That's how he be winning fights. He starts high, but for him it's low. He revs up, now he's in high gear. But he's running 8,000 RPM from round 7 on. He's redlining from round 7 on. I don't think we understand how preposterous that is. That brother is redlining from round 7 on in his highest gear for the rest of the fight. And every other fighter, they can't stay that high that long, defensively or offensively. That's why you get people just shelling up. That's why you see the facial expression change, shift. Their eyes get wide. Their breathing gets heavy. They look like they're almost panicking. And now they're wincing, and they're straining, and they're struggling, and they're trying to fight through mud. And it's just so difficult because he's redlining, but he is never going and blowing up the engine. I can't, whether it's in movement, whether it's in output, whether it is in thought process, I just can't keep that pace up. I can't keep it up. I got to take some time, take a break. And in those one instance, boom, now I'm hurt. That one brief, deep breath, that's what started the beginning of the end. Because in your lack, it's like you got to hold your breath underwater when you fight Navarrete. Who comes up for air first? And every time it's always the opponent. So let me see. Shock has the better footwork, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You will never hear me question it. Shock's footwork is better. But what happens when it's not? What happens when what happens when he stops moving? What happens? What happens when he stops moving with the same floating around? What happens if he stops having that lateral movement as his best defense against the aggression of the likes of Navarrete? What happens when all of a sudden his body is trying to respond to what his mind is going to do and he starts getting a step slow? Half second laps, full second laps. Instead of just hopping back and forth, he's got to really step back and forth. Moving left and right, he can't change direction as quickly as he was in the first 6 rounds of the fight. You're seeing him his mouth is starting to stay open. His jab is losing just a hint of steam. His ability to fight around Navarrete, now he's getting cornered and he's always right in front of him. He can't step to the side with the speed that he needs to. Because now Navarrete's being able to track him because you're just a step slower than you were 2 rounds ago. All of a sudden, that's where danger starts. That's where danger starts. Absolutely. Shock does stop using lateral movement out of nowhere I'm telling you, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. Look, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. This isn't me saying that Shock can't win. This is not me saying that Shock isn't able to be the better boxer. This is me saying that Shock has to go 12 almost assuredly for this fight. And Shock cannot fight at 100% the entirety of the time he fights. That's Shock. That's his style. That's his makeup as a fighter. He can't do that. And because he can't do that, that boxing element stops being an element. Because he's not boxing like he would need to in this fight when he needs to. That's where it gets scary. The stuff that you want him to use, he's not using. And if he stops using those best weapons at any given point in time, as you said, sometimes he just stops for whatever reason. Now you're in trouble. And again, this ain't Stephen Fulton. This is a good fighter shootout. Like the matchmakers, they did a phenomenal job. That's why this is great. That's why I was saying this is perfect. That's why I was saying this is so perfect. This is the best fight you can make, because this fight now shows distinct styles that can have counters for each other. But for one, it's the first half of the fight. For the other, it's the second half of the fight. That's the biggest make or break factor. There's going to be this fight, and we're about to talk. We're about to talk INOUE. Before we get too long with it, we're about to talk INOUE. This is going to be the fight that's a tale of two halves. Shock may just win the first 5-6 rounds of the fight, and Navarrete may just win from 7 to 12. And in round 12, now who's going to want it more? Who's going to want it more? They may trade one round in those first 5. But Foster has the advantage. And then round 7 and on, Navarrete goes and takes the rest of them. And now it's round 12. It might be tied up. Who can dig deep and fight now? Because now Navarrete is at the best framework in his fight on that night. And Shop may be needing to go and get a second win. What's going to happen there? Who can dig deep? How do you deal with that? We're going to find out. We're going to find out. I can't wait to see it. I'm telling you, it's going to be a phenomenal fight for us to witness. This is a perfect matchup in every sense of the word. But before we go, we want to make sure that we cover the likes of Bam or Bam and Inoue and the talking points surrounding Inoue getting the fight. It is now official that the countdown to the mega fight is beginning for Navarrete and Bam. It's official now. It's going down. Or rather, the clock has now officially started to tick as we see with Naoya Inoue. He has now fully stated that him and Inoue, they are wanting to fight. He's wanting to stick around. However, there is a likely move. I will go up and move up to the likes of 126. I'll show you the quote that you can see live on, well, not live on there, but in terms of live right here on our show, so you can witness and see exactly what went down. Inoue said publicly, per his camp, actually this per Inoue himself, whether I stay in 122-pound division for the big rumored fight or move up in featherweight, I'll keep improving, so I'm ready for whatever happens. Either way, next year is a year of challenges. I want to show everyone that I'll keep taking challenges right up till the very end of my boxing career. And before what predated this quote was the fact that Inoue has now officially started back in training and some sparring and getting his body ready for next year. The official outcome of Inoue getting ready to fight has now officially begun. It started. It's the preparation of the rest period is over. He's now sparring. He's now working. He's now training. He's not training hard, but the sculpting of him as a fighter now begins, which signifies he's getting ready for March if that fight happens. February or March, he's getting ready for if that fight takes place between him and Bam Rodriguez. He's getting ready, without a doubt. And now it is the ball is in Bam Rodriguez's corner as to whether or not we're going to get this fight. It's in his corner. It's in his court. It is his domain of responsibility. Because as of 9 hours ago, this is now the official gunning point. Either you pull the trigger and you say that we're going to make this fight, or I'm moving up to 122. But my body of work in preparation, it starts today. That was the full quote involving what Inoue was saying. It starts now. We prepared for next year, but the preparation starts now. So the ball's in Inoue's court now. The official countdown clock for this fight happening or not happening, it indeed starts today. Bam's got a decision to make. Big one. Needed one. You got an opportunity to fight Inoue at 122, or you can take your time, which if you do, okay, and fight him at 126 later down the line. But if you do want that type of movement, you got to make a decision to jump today, or at least by the time March comes around. And you got to get ready by the time March comes around, because right now, when Inoue said this train was moving, he was serious. This train's moving. Whether you like it or not, this train is going one way or another into the stratosphere of greatness and excellence. We are going to have ourselves a fight one way or the other. One way or the other. One way or the other, we're going to have ourselves a fight. And if it ain't happening with you, it's going to happen with somebody else. Espinoza, Shoo, somebody getting it. But the gauntlet now has officially been thrown, at least from the standpoint of, I'm getting ready. What's going to be Bam's decision? We're going to find out. But let me keep on reading your thoughts and opinions on the show. And the TEO versus ROLLY fight, I'll reinstate. or I'll reinstate that I got TEO by decision, but I can 100% see Rolly knocking down TEO or knocking TEO out in the first 4. Really? You can see him knock him out in the first 4? Woo! Shoot. In the first 4? Good gosh, wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a second. You can see Teofimo Lopez getting knocked out in the first 4 rounds of that fight. Now, granted, I've lauded that Rolly can knock him out. But we have to also give respect that TEO does have a chin and a heart of a champion. He got knocked down against Kambosos. Yes, he did, absolutely. But let's put that into perspective. He had a lung issue that was also affecting his health as a whole. Going into that fight, almost died directly after because of the issue with his lungs. Affected his performance on the night of the fight. That is confirmed. Doesn't take away that he lost, but it happened. I just don't think that we should be so locked in that Rolly can knock out TEO. Give a little bit more respect to TEO's chin. Now, it's still a possibility. And if the power is fresh, yeah, that's the best chance. But I do think that TEO's got a better punch resistance than people may realize. I do. I truly do. Let me see. I got INOUE, but INOUE is slowing down. This is the perfect time to jump in on INOUE for Bam. Dang it. You know what? I'm going to address this point on Friday. If INOUE is slowing down, I'm going to address this. If INOUE is really slowing down, I'm going to address this. Because I got some unique thoughts to it. I'm going to say that. First off, I'm going to say I don't agree. But I'm going to tell you why. Tomorrow. Like I said, we gotta save some stuff. Tomorrow. Oh, yeah. I'm going to tell you why. I promise you. I'm going to tell you why. Because, y'all going to love to hear what I had to say tomorrow. And if I forget to talk about it, remind me. But I'm going to address this tomorrow. I guarantee you. Let me see. But TEO is lazy early. He got hit like 50 times against Claggett in the first couple rounds. Well, hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Hold on. No. That's the wrong sniper. Hold on a second. Pump the brakes. Steve Claggett threw like 1,000 punches in that fight. Steve Claggett fought like Zepeda on steroids in that fight. I don't think anybody has had that hot of a start in terms of outright, okay, we're just throwing everything in the kitchen sink from round 1 to round 12. I think anybody, because of that type of volume, would have gotten landed on. That was more of an outlier. He handled that incredibly well. I don't think that's fair that fight he was sloppy when Claggett was more so just legitimately did not stop throwing at all from the opening bell. Like, in fact, to put this into an official perspective, let me actually get the punch stats. Steve Claggett versus TEO CompuBox. I'm gonna look this up right now because I'm telling you. If I got my stuff right, yeah, I got the CompuBox right here. Excuse me, I got the CompuBox right here. They both had career high totals in their fight against each other. Claggett threw in totality. What is it? Claggett threw in totality 820 punches on the night. He went through and landed 140. That's 17%. 17% of the punches that Claggett threw, he missed or he landed. Everything else he missed. In the first 6 rounds of the fight, Claggett landed 4 punches out of 20, 7 for 35, 8 for 40, 4 for 40, 4 for 25. 4, what is that, 7? 4 plus 7 is 11. 11 plus 8, that's 19. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. In the first 5 rounds of the fight, Claggett landed 27 punches. 2, 4, 6, 8. Lopez landed almost 100. He was making a miss. He was making a miss a lot. A lot. A lot. And most of Claggett's punches were jabs. Most of Claggett's punches were jabs coming in. But again, based on confidence, this cat was legit. Neo-female, as people were calling him. This cat was legitimately going through and just fighting. More so than fighting, he was operating in volume in close quarters against a brother who just was relentless and made him miss all the time, while still landing above 33%, throwing 946 punches in the fight, landing 315. I'll even share my screen so you can see exactly what I'm saying. So you can get a scope as to what I am witnessing. This is the reality. This cat was getting beat up. He was legit getting beat up, and was making Claggett miss all the time. Let me see. INOUE looked as fast as, I'm assuming, ever. Well, hold on. Let me make sure I got this right. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm reading this correctly. INOUE looked as fast as ever. Was against Nakatani, but I think he can't be fighting 5 times in 15 months at his age, 2 or 3 max. And that's true. He even admitted that himself. I agree. No qualms there. It's just the conversation has to be, even in those 2 or 3 times, is he still at the peak of his powers? Or would people say he's on the decline? As you can say, he's not as fast as he once was. Or as Ryan Graves say, he's not as fast as he once was. He's not as spry as he once was. And he's not as invincible as he once was post the fight with Nakatani. Though Nakatani was, again, the only man we thought could beat him at that point in time. Again, we're going that type of stuff we will address on Friday. I promise you. We will address that on Friday. I can guarantee you. We're going to have some more time. And we're going to have a lot more opinions from a lot more people that want to have something to say. I guarantee you. Wait till Friday. Championship rounds. Oh, we're going to have all day to talk about it. I guarantee you we're going to have all day to talk about it. But let me keep on reading. Knockout Kickbox definitely lied. Go back and watch and you see Claggett landed way more than that. Look, I'll go back and watch it. I saw him making a miss, but I'm no problem going back and seeing how that fight's going to go. Like I said, with anything, go back and watch it for yourself so you can see exactly what we got taking place. But Friday, we're going to be addressing more stuff on INOUE and other things. But right now, we got to make sure we wrap the show up and get ready to go. We're at the tail end of this show. We're going to do a last call for the world of boxing and the sports landscape. 1 or 2 more questions, if you have any, in the last call of this show before we go and wrap it up and let you all enjoy the rest of your afternoon. We would still want to hear your thoughts, still want to hear your responses, still want to hear how you feel about the whole of the boxing globe, and still want to hold you in high regards for what you think is going to happen in your own mind in the world of boxing and sports landscape as we know it. But this is the last call for the world of questions, comments, concerns, and debate. We still want to hear from you in all regards of this. Let me see. Have you finished Jiu-Jitsu Kaisen yet? I am in the middle of finishing. I'm in the middle of it. I've been behind the scenes. I've been watching it. I'm almost done. I'm breezing my way through, and I'm working my way through. I'm gonna tell you. In fact, I probably should be done by next week. Probably. Hold on. Let me check out my schedule right. Yeah. I should be done. But with the pace that I'm watching the show, I should be done watching it by next week. And I'll be able to finish the whole thing. For people that haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil nothing. But it's gas. It's quickly turning into one of my favorite shows. It's quick. It was already. But now, especially since I watched it in the order that you told me to, Miyagi, I get it. I'm loving it. But I should be finished with it by next week. By next week, I mean Friday. And by next Friday, not this Friday. Next Friday, I should be finished with it all. Because again, I still got life. I still gotta pace myself to watch the show and still edit. These shorts is by myself. These videos is by myself. All the podcast stuff, I'm just one man. And with some other things, I gotta pace it. But I should be done with it by next week. And I'm not gonna spoil nothing, but just know it's fire. It's fire. But let me keep on reading before we get out of here. Spoiler alert, someone turns to a see, hey now, don't tell me nothing. No. We try to keep it spoiler free, so people don't know. People don't even want to know what to expect. But like I said, next Friday, I should be completely done with it, and then we can go and discuss it all. Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun. I can't wait to see. Also, Raynard Fox, how are you doing? We appreciate you on the show. We appreciate you on the stream. We are getting ready to end it and get out of here, but we appreciate you joining in on our show, on our live stream, even if it's at the tail end. We appreciate all of you joining in as a part of our conversation, but we are getting ready to end the show, and we are getting ready to get out of here unless you have any extra questions involving the world of sports and the boxing, NBA, NFL, and all that stuff. We are in the last call, so if you have anything you want to say, comments and questions regarding what we talked about earlier with INOUE, BAM, the updates on INOUE starting training for March with the likes of Navarrete versus O'Shaquie Foster, your prediction for that fight that is now announced for October 24th, or at least it looks like it's going to be happening on October 24th. Or anything else involving the world of boxing and other topics that we covered on the show, you can go and either rewatch the episode or go through and ask it now. We can do a quick disclaimer. Who do you think comes out on top between Shiraz and Janovic? Now, that's a tough question. I'm not going to lie. That's tough. That's a hard question. That's a really hard question. Because buddy, the PED is going to have a lot of people feeling some type of way. No question about it. But how do we say this? How do I say this correctly? 160 between Shiraz and Janovic, when they were in the division at the same place, I felt Janovic was better. At 168, with them in the same place yet again, based on what we've seen from Shiraz at this point in time as champion in this division, with 2 fights, about to be 3, at 168, I still think Janovic is better. And because they're getting ready to fight each other, whether you think it's fair or not, that Janovic and Shiraz are in the ring for a title, and specifically Janovic is getting a shot after getting popped for PEDs for the first fight at a new division. Whether you think that's fair or not, we can address that later on, next week. Or excuse me, most likely next week, but Friday, more importantly. But the whole of the conversation itself, I think Janovic beats him. I think Janovic beats him. I think Janovic gets him. I think Janovic stops him. I think Janovic stops him. If they fought against each other, I do. I truly do. If it's the same Janovic I was seeing at 160, now Janovic, he does get caught. He does get hit. Don't get me wrong, he does get hit. That Philly shell where he's trying to go and lean out the way, it don't work all the time. It don't. But as a fighter, now he's more consistent. And his power, I'm telling you, Shiraz better be concerned and scared. Because I think Shiraz, he gets beat by Janovic. I think Shiraz, when they fight, I'm going to say early, Shiraz loses his title. How? We'll address that in the coming weeks to come. Right now, I would say Janovic, I think he beats him. Janovic is a little stationary, but Shiraz is turned out to be a hot and cold fighter. That's the problem. That is the big problem. And Shiraz is more than inclined to be stationary in his own way. That's the thing. Shiraz ain't a great mover. Shiraz is not a great mover in his own way. And stationary is where he wants to be as well. But I'm telling you, it's going to be, I don't think Shiraz can beat him. I don't think he can beat him. Let me see, man, I don't even think Bud can beat Janibek at his age. What I look like picking Shiraz. Man, I don't even think Bud can beat Janibek at his age. What I look like picking Shiraz to beat? Now, granted, I think Crawford would have beaten Janibek. I do think Crawford would have beaten Janibek if they fought, and I wish it had happened. But no, yeah, if you did feel that Janibek could have beaten Crawford at 160, good gosh, he's gonna kill Shiraz if that was your predisposed position. But again, we can discuss that in the world of this show and in the world of boxing on tomorrow and in the coming weeks to come. Because we have to go and end this show, wrap it up, get out of here, and let you all enjoy the rest of your afternoon. So with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining in, and it's time for us to bid you adieu. And this has been another episode of The Watchable with me, your host, Jean-Luc Welch. We hope you've had a phenomenal time on our show, and we thank you to everybody who tuned in and listened to our live stream. We hope we made your day a little bit brighter, made your day a little bit better, made your work week a little bit more exciting, and hopefully you enjoyed your time right here as family with us on this show. We thank you to everybody who tuned in and chatted on our live stream, on our show. We love the support. We appreciate all of you being a part of our show. And if you would be so kind, keep on liking the stream before you get out of here. One like makes a world of difference on our show to help us reach the masses all across the globe. Please be sure to hit the notification bell on this channel so you know whenever we post on YouTube. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss a moment of what we have on this show, and join in on our conversation of what we do, how we act, and how we go and roll on this show every single week. And please be sure, if you can support this channel, we have Cash App, PayPal, links in the description down below on this show. You can help support this channel and help us to grow and thrive and to pay some bills and to find this show for you to listen and watch even more entertainingly all across the globe. And it helps me to go and keep this show going, because we're like PBS. We can't do this without viewers like you, and we thank you for all your support and all the love, and we can't wait to see you all on Friday afternoon, same time, same place, same channel, covering the world of boxing and beyond, having your voice to be seen, heard. It's the championship round, so we want to hear what you have to say as you control the flow of the show all day tomorrow afternoon. I can't wait to see you all there. I can't wait to hear from you, and we're going to let you all enjoy the rest of your day. So I've been Jean-Luc Welch. Y'all have been wonderful. Be safe, be blessed, peace and love. Oh, we are out of here. Yes, sir. Salute to you. We're going to let you all enjoy the rest of your day. Have a wonderful afternoon. Come back here on Friday. We can't wait to hear from you. And then hopefully you'll tell more people about the show, and we can't wait to have some action, because it's going to be a doozy. I promise you, you're going to love it. But ladies and gentlemen, we thank you all for tuning in, and we are out of here.